Evening, evening, evening. Welcome back to Beyond the Lane, episode 36, final show of the season. Well, maybe. There might be some more throughout the summer, depending on any big news that comes out. Big up to everyone in the chat. Big up to everyone watching at home. Please get involved with your comments throughout the night. Look, we've got a very opinionated lineup tonight, guys. Let's welcome them all in. Ian, how are you, man?
All good tonight, thanks, Dan. Looking forward to this evening's chat.
And thanks for jumping on, mate. And Stel, how are you?
Yeah, Dan, Nige, thanks for having me on again. I'm good. I'm tired. I'm on battery level 10%, must charge, and the charger's broken. So I'll give you my last 10%, and then I'm going to replace myself for a Nokia or an Ericsson from back in the day or something. I don't know. But
so
all good.
You're coming off YouTube then after tonight.
I think I'm being pulled off YouTube. I'm being pulled off YouTube.
Thanks for coming on, mate. And Danny, how are you, man?
Oh, still on a bit of recovery, but I'm all right. And cheers for having us on.
Nah, no problem, no problem. Thank you for coming on. And Sava, how are you, man? Thanks for jumping on also.
All good, man. All good. I've been called worse than opinionated in the last 10 minutes, so that's a nice warm welcome. Thank you.
And Nige, mate, how are you? How was your trip to Weymouth with Sheriff?
It was interesting. No, it was a good day. Good day. Couple of beers, and didn't get beat up on the way home on the train, so that was an added bonus. But yeah, all good. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, big up to everyone who's joined us tonight. We'll have a cracking show. Lots to get into, as there is with Spurs. So look, the theme of the show tonight is, as a Spurs fan, what the hell do you want? Coming into the summer, so many decisions to be made. Obviously, winning that Europa League was massive. Winning the first trophy after 17 years. A season which was very close to ending in disaster, but was saved by that win. And now we're in the Champions League. We got in through the back door, but fantastic stuff. Now, in the league, we're well off it, weren't we, really? The overall performance just was not good enough. Week to week, we were losing. But that trophy has put us in a better position in the club going into next season. The fan base, as usual, continues to disagree on everything. It's been the season of the flip-flop. But I get it, because after winning that trophy after 17 years, it's changed so many fans' opinions and given them different outlooks now. So tonight, what I want to hear from the panel and people in the chat is, what do you want from Spurs now? Players, managers, style of play, recruitment, the board, and what is your minimum expectation for Spurs next season? We will try and break it all down with 6 questions, which are going to cover all these areas. But first, let's start off with a bit of a light-hearted one. Guys, what's been your funniest moment on YouTube this season? Anybody can jump in.
Well,
Jesus. Lubo's wife telling him off midstream was pretty funny. That was a particular highlight.
yes, my kids saw Stel's clip of that and thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. I must admit that was the one that just came straight to the back of my mind as well. I mean, that was classic. I mean, I thought you was going to get a beating, if I'm going to be honest.
She's not as tough as your missus.
Mine was something.
She looked like it. She looked like it, Ian. She nearly had that computer off and had you out the room, mate. So that's pretty tough.
No, Dan, it was a little bit like this. VAR interfered. They came through and they turned around to her and said, "Stop me part," said yellow, not red. And I was back in front of the screen 2 minutes later. So everything was sweet.
What did she say to you, Ian?
What did she say? She went a bit posse. She said, "Can you not hear your daughter screaming? Why are you shouting? It's 12:30 at night. You've woken both of us up. It's enough." And that was it. So I took her out. So I'm very sorry. It was a bit of banter. It was a bit loud. I'll keep it down. And off she went to bed. And that when I came back, and that was, she's a good girl. She just got pissed because,
you woke her up.
Both of them got woken up.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. Before we get into any more funny moments, please, everybody, subscribe to everybody here. Cookie is going to be putting the links in the chat throughout the night. Cheers, Cookie, mate. Thank you for doing that. And also, guys, go over to the 2 Mark show. They started off with the Spurs all-time best 11. Sava went live today, wasn't it? 5 o'clock. And well worth a watch. I'm sure everyone on the panel is done it. And there's many, many more to see. So yeah, guys, go over to the 2 Marks, give them a sub and watch it.
Yeah, got abused for everything. Do you
Well,
know, like,
you reckon,
don't want him in there.
you want to take on my team, you've lost 4 players already if you want to take on my team. So
mate, my team will batter your team. Your team will have people like Archie Gray and Jamie Donnelly and Luca Gunter and all that sort of in it. And then mine's got Hoddle and Ginola and Gaza and Modric and the likes.
Well, you've lost, if your team's playing my team, you've lost Hoddle, Gaza, Ledley and Bale straight away. So you're into your subs, mate. That leaves you 1 sub.
All right. My subs are quality as well. Lugo, don't you worry about me, mate. You worry about your boy Archie Gray, and I'll worry about my.
I won't give anything more away. I'll wait for the 2 Marks to come out with our half-hour chat.
No, good fun.
Anybody else got any other funny moments happened on YouTube this season? Nige, I think you were going to say something, mate, weren't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't say mine was funny, but it was something I look back on. Do you remember our first ever show we did live? I think it was the first Beyond the Lane we did. And I must admit, after it, I thought, I don't think we'll be doing another one. It was one where you had a moment and you forgot to mute yourself, and I'll just leave it there. And it was quite funny at the time. I did think, are we going to get another show out of this?
Yeah, I had to go and do a Chris Cowling and delete it, didn't I? And put it back on.
I think the funniest moment was before Lubo's wife came in to tell him off. It was when Lubo just out of nowhere did an impression of Alex Box Office. That for me, that I was gone. I was absolutely gone. I couldn't believe it. One of the funniest things I've ever seen on YouTube.
You got it in you again, Ian, to do it again.
Oh, I couldn't. Okay, it was very spontaneous. It was very maybe during the show I'll give you one out the blue.
Mate, it was so unexpected. It caught us all.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Dan, what about you, mate? Any highlights of the season?
It's just spur of the moment thinking of that, but the one that just comes to my mind that definitely gave me a laugh recently was with what happened with Ian and his missus. I thought that was brilliant.
And my one was Nige when he came on as Ange, didn't he? That night after, the celebration stream.
God,
we did.
yeah.
Yeah, that was brilliant stuff.
Like this.
Yeah, and we questioned him and had to give a few apologies. What was it, Nige? You said what was that question where you were asked that how are you going to stop the losses, or something like that? What did you say?
I think I said that I'm not. We're probably going to lose more, but I remember now. But yeah, I think I said we're going to lose more.
It was good fun. Okay, let's just get into it, guys. Big up to everyone watching. Sorry I can't read out all of your hellos, but thank you for all being here. Remember to smash the like button and all of that. Let's start off with the first question of the evening. Let's have a look. Pretty straightforward, really. Here we go. So, who's worth building around? So I'll give you a bit of context around this. Yeah. So looking at the current squad, who are the core players you genuinely believe are good enough to take this club forward? Who needs to be sold immediately? No fence sitting tonight, guys. Name names. Anybody can kick it off.
Have you met us? Fence sitting.
Well, with Charlison's got to get out of there straight. Surely we got to get him out of there while we can still get a couple of quid for him, if we can even get a couple of quid for him.
Right.
I think with Charlison's one, you definitely got to get him out. We're going to have to either get rid of Basuma, Bentancur, or Sarr, any one of them three, basically. So we got space for another midfielder in there to take the place, basically, who walks into the team. And then, yeah, others like Ben Davies, you would have thought it's about time that he goes. I wouldn't say no to Son disappearing either, getting some money while we can for him as well, and building up basically as much as we can to then get some new players in there.
So Son, Richie, Ben Davies. Who else did you say, Dan?
Any one of the three midfield. Any one of
yeah.
Sarr. Yeah, any one of Sarr, Basuma.
What would be your choice?
Or Bentancur. If I'm going to say out of all of it, I think Basuma is the better player out of the three of them altogether, as long as you play him the right way to what he's good at. I think he's the better player out of Bentancur, Sarr. I think out of... probably the one who I'd miss least, who I wouldn't mind seeing the back of, is Sarr. For me, he just really hasn't got much. He's got an engine, yeah, great, but he doesn't really do much with it. So if it was out of the three midfielders, I'd get rid of Sarr personally.
Okay.
So do you want who we're getting rid of, or who we're building around? What do you want?
So you can start it how you want, Sava. You can say this is the kind of key players I want to see, in the team week in, week out, what we can build on. Obviously, there's obvious ones, right? You can name them, but
I'll be honest. I've said for a long time, there's no one in this squad where I'd lose sleep if I woke up and they'd gone. There's players I like, but no one of, like when we had a Bale and we had a Modric, and you had these players that you went, oh my God, like when Teddy left, remember it was like, oh my God, we've lost Teddy Shea. I don't think we've got a single player like that in our team anymore. Players I think you could build around, James Maddison. I think everyone knows how much I rate him. I think it's criminal how we've not built around James Maddison in a playmaker position. I think it's criminal how he's used. I think a Dogie and Porro, if they were used as wing backs and not this inverted nonsense that we keep trying to make them do. Van der Ven, but again, I want to see Mickey Van der Ven week in, week out in a back four where we're not just relying on his pace. Other than that, I'll be honest, I'd keep Bergvall because he's, I think he's got a lot of promise. He's clearly a very talented lad, but I'd like to see him given an actual position and a structure. Other than that, I'll be honest, I don't mind. I think if bids come in for any of them, I think you listen. Depending on who the manager is, depending on who the owners are, depending on who's in charge of.
Because we're not going to ship them out, Sava, are we? A lot of these players, we're not going to ship them all out. So we're just looking at what we have.
No, okay. So the obvious ones that are going to go are going to be your Solomons, your Hills. I think Ben Davies will be off. I think Sonny will be off. I think Richarlison will be off. I think Dan is right. I think one of, if not two of that midfield three will be off. I think Archie Gray should go out on loan. I think you'll see Donnelly go out on loan. Mikey Moore will go out on loan. Romero might go, depending on how much money Atletico Madrid have got. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. But as I said, this isn't a squad where I look at and I go, we have to keep X, Y, or Z at all costs. They're irreplaceable. I don't think anyone in this Tottenham team is irreplaceable. I genuinely don't think anyone's been consistent enough, good enough for however long they've been there for me to really worry if they leave. And that might sound harsh, but...
Is there a spine, Sava? Is there any kind of spine for you when you look at that team?
Not up top, no. Midfield, depends how you want to play. If you want to stick 10 men behind the ball, there's a spine. I think if you want to be a bit more dynamic in your play, then I think that midfield needs two new players. I think you need a proper ball player, someone who really puts their foot on the ball, dictates the tempo of the game. And I think I don't want to say the word destroyer because that's not how I believe a number 6 should play, but I think we need a ball winner. I think we need a Paulinho, somebody that at the end of the season you're going, oh my God, look how many interceptions that man made. So I don't think there is a spine. Again, this will sound harsh. I'm sure people are expecting this from me. I don't know how you can build around Van der Ven and Romero. The guys are never fit. So again, is that the spine? Are we going to go into another season going Van der Ven and Romero, our best centre-back pairing? Then when they don't play, we're just going to automatically go to, but they're injured. So I don't think there is. I think there's a lot of work to be done. I think there's a lot of work to be done. And yeah, I think it's. Does that sound harsh, guys? I don't know if there's anyone here would really wake up and go, "Oh my God, this is the worst player we've ever sold." You know, I just don't think there is.
I don't think there's anyone that is irreplaceable in that team at all.
Great.
I mean, like, we've all got our opinions on Romero. For me, he's not irreplaceable. For me, he's one. If I got offered 60 mil for him, see you later. He's gone straight away. On his day, a world-class player. On majority of other games, average player. And then a couple of games, good player. And then for half the season, he's unfit anyway. He's just too inconsistent. He's one. We might miss him on a day, but I don't think we'd miss him as a whole, if you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah. I think a fully fit Romero, Dan, if someone could say to me 38 games a season, Romero plays, yeah, I don't want to sell him. Problem is, I mean, if you look at his 4 years at Spurs, you know, he's missed something like 86 games or something across those 4 years in all competitions. Something he's
missed
too
a
much.
lot.
It's too much. You don't see that. You don't see that from Saliba, from Gabriel. You don't see that from many other centre halves in this league. So I think the question's got to be asked. I know it's an unpopular one, but the question's got to be asked. It's got to be asked. So
Savo, basically, you're putting the whole team on the transfer list.
No. Listen. Not at all. There's loads. There's the obvious ones that will go, but I think if I woke up tomorrow, like, okay, Bentancur, good footballer, right? Good. I don't go beyond that. I don't think he's this quality midfielder everyone thinks he is. I'd keep Bentancur if you ask me. But if I woke up tomorrow and someone said, "Oh my God, have you seen that Atletico have bid 60 million for Bentancur?" I'm all over it, right? I'm all over it because you could get better. So whether we scout better is obviously another conversation. So yeah, I think there's some decent players there, but nobody that sets the world alight.
Stel, what's your thoughts on it?
It's difficult to answer because, first of all, it depends how we play. If we're going to play what we describe as Ange ball, then hardly anyone works. If we play transitional football, I'd keep most of the players. If we're going to play low block defensive, like we did in the cup final, then certain players that I'd remove, I'd keep, like Pape Sarr. He was very good in the final. So it depends how we play.
Yeah.
Then the next question is, who do you realistically think we can actually get? Like, you know, you watch the Champions League final, PSG are on a different level to most teams in Europe. They didn't beat Inter Milan. They tore them to shreds, and everyone hyped up Inter Milan. Mate, it was boys v men. And that midfield, you look at players like Kvaratskhelia, Vinta, Neves, and you look up front, Doué. Are we really going to get that type of player? I don't know. So it's so hard to answer that question. For me, I'd probably keep 75% of the squad, but the ones that technically just can't play, like Richarlison's, they've got to go. Right? They've got to go. What is the point? Ben Davies, steady Eddie, but he's not technically great. He's got to go. So I think keep players that maybe have got some technique, or they bring something to the team. Like, look, Brennan Johnson, love him, hate him. He's our top goal scorer. How do you get rid of him? I mean, you can only get rid of him if you're going to sign 2 top strikers, and that sorts that problem out.
You get rid of him if you can get someone better as a bloody winger. But it's what you said. He does his little job of getting in the corner, doesn't he?
What winger is going to get us 18 goals? Like, we need a winger that's going to get 18 goals in, which is basically a Doué. Are we going to sign Doué? Are we going to pay the wages? Do you know what it is, guys? For me, I think what it comes down to is this. Whilst Enoch and Levy, and I know people hate talking about them, but I just think it always comes back to them. Whilst they're here, what do you realistically think is going to happen with them here? And if we're realistic with it, we've got to be careful who we get rid of, because everyone wanted Højbjerg out, get him out. Look what happened. You see, now everyone's like, you know what? Maybe we should have kept him. So this is the game we're playing.
Lubo's fault. That's Lubo's fault for pushing his boy Gray so hard that he made Højbjerg leave.
Well, even it's your fault. But even like Basuma and Sarr in that role.
Sorry, so I didn't realise Højbjerg watched the podcast.
Yeah, mate.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look,
sorry, go on.
Banter aside, you get my point. We've wanted players out. They've gone, and then look what we're then left with. So I think we've just got to be realistic with it. As much as I don't rate Johnson as a footballer, I don't think he's a good footballer. But there's no way now I would let him go unless you guarantee me 20 goals from someone else out wide. I wouldn't do it, because it's going to be Højbjerg all over again. We're thinking, do you know what? Maybe we should have kept Johnson. He might have got a goal in that game, and he's not a good player. But this is what it's like at Spurs. I think we just got to be careful with what we do here. That doesn't mean we keep any old dog shit. Like Richarlison offers nothing other than working hard, which is it's not enough for me. You know, I would probably keep 75% of the squad and get rid of 25%.
But is there a spine there though? Is there, like, you look across that? I said the same question I asked Sava. He didn't really say there is a spine.
There's half a spine.
And who is
half a spine
in your eyes? Who is that?
Well, I think Romero and Van de Ven have proven, and Sava's got a point about them being fit. If they stay fit, they're a good duo, right? Our win rate, or the games we lose, massively changes when them two play. There's a huge difference. So they're capable. Maddison down that middle, he's a top player. Again, is he going to stay fit? I think where we need to fix the spine is the 6 and the number 9. They're the two players. They're the two positions that I think will fix the spine. But the rest have got to stay fit. Are they going to stay fit? I don't know. I've got no idea. Probably not.
I mean, one other thing I wouldn't say no to. It's not a priority, but I would personally like a new goalkeeper, like a real goalkeeper, because I've stuck up for Vicario a lot, and I still say he's one of the best shot stoppers in the Premier League. But as an overall keeper, I have seen no improvement. At the start of the season, it looked like he was getting a bit more better at getting it in the air and everything else on dead ball situations, but he just seems to go into a complete panic attack all the time or whatever. And yeah, on a reflex save and stuff like that, he's outstanding. But I would want more from an overall keeper if I had a choice, but I don't think he's one of the... If you want to put him into blocks, basically, of what you need to get rid of, he'd be in block 3 sort of thing. Whereas there's others significantly more important to get rid of, basically. But I wouldn't say no to a significantly good keeper.
Is it a concern that a lot of our players are being linked out? Does that say a lot?
I don't think it's a bad thing. If other players are looking at our boys, then it means they're doing something right, doesn't it?
There's not many though, is there? There's like Romero, who else?
Benson,
Basuma, Everson. Yeah, they want Basuma, don't they, Everton?
No,
Dan, I don't believe any link that comes out of anyone's mouth when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur. The amount of times they get it wrong is absolutely disgraceful. You know, breaking news and sacked. Really? Where is it? Right? They create news because they know our fans are the most gullible, easy to capture online audience that will read. Our fans and Arsenal are the two worst online when it comes to X and sources and links. We are horrendous.
Okay.
I've been saying it for 2 years. That doesn't mean that they get everything wrong, but so much they say they get wrong. Mm-hmm. They didn't predict one of the transfers last year, and Donna Cullen gone. None of them predicted that. Not a single one predicted she'd be gone. Right, and there she goes. It's just announced. Vinay comes in. No one predicted he'd come in, but it's announced by the club. I just think there's so much smoke and hot air around our club online But I guess as YouTubers, that's how we create content, right? Let's just grab that. There's a 2-hour show, and we all do it. I was doing it last night as well, so I'm not innocent.
I think Everton going for
giving away our
Basuma though is quite
secrets.
realistic. I
It's
think Everton looking at a player like Basuma is actually quite a believable one.
I think he'd be perfect there, Dan. I think he's a perfect David Moyes footballer. Him and Richarlison, perfect for David Moyes. They go to Everton, listen, and they go with my blessing. I like Basuma. Again, I think Stel said the best thing so far. All of this depends on what are we? I've asked this since the end of the final. What are we? Are we the chaotic, wide open Spurs? If so, I don't know who fits that system. Are we the 10 men behind the ball Spurs, in which case you just get 11 hard workers? Or are we going to have some kind of transitional team that can actually link the back to the front? Because the problem with Spurs at the moment is when we're gung-ho, we can't. We're all gung-ho. When we're ultra defensive, we have absolutely no outball and we're just all at the back. He's got to find a way, if it is Ange that stays, he's got to find a way of getting a bit of a transition. He's got to find a way of making us solid at the back and a threat going forward. If that's the case, I think Stell's right. We have then got a lot of good players on the transition. You want to play more of a fluid, I hate this term, but a kind of tick-attack away of football. You've got to get a lot of technical footballers in. So this all depends. Listen, hopefully in the next week or two, we know who the manager is, right? But you'll kind of know from the manager what you need. If it is Ange, I think we're all up in the air as to what are we going to be. If it is Xavi, we absolutely know we need some technicians, right? If it is Frank, then we know we're going to need a mixture because we know that he goes from a back three to a back four. So I think this is all going to be about who is the manager of Tottenham Hotspur rather than let's assess our squad based off what are we at the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I was just interested to hear, all you guys, who you rate in this team. And it's a struggle, it's sounding like. I mean, let's hear from Ian and Nige. What's your assessment on it, Ian, on the squad?
Who would I sell? I think I'd sell Richie. I'd sell Ben Davis. I would sell either Sarr or Basuma. I'd sell one of them.
Which one?
If you put me on the spot, I'd probably keep Sarr because he's 5 years younger.
You're all about the younger they are.
One's 22, one's 28. So for me, if you say are you going to keep one who you hope, if you're going to keep him, then you hope he's going to be successful. And if he's going to be successful, then you're going to get more years out of him if he's 22 than if he's 28. So that's the logic that I based it on. And 22 is not, I don't call a 22-year-old footballer a kid anymore. They are proper established, they're adults.
Yeah.
So I would say Richie, Basuma, Davis. I think Gill will go. I think, unfortunately, Solomon will go. I'd like to see Solomon back at the club and given a chance in pre-season because he had the most superb loan spell at Leeds, and we send players out on loan and we hope that it's gonna work and be successful and kickstart their careers with Spurs. And I think, Solomon's had an absolutely blinding year at Leeds. He does everything that our players don't do. He takes players on, he crosses accurately, he pings balls in from back of the net from 20 yards. We don't have that. We seem to score the same sort of goal every time. So for me, I would keep Solomon. I would send Tell back to Bayern, most definitely. In terms of building around what you've got, for me, the defence is the strongest part of the team. So I'd keep the 5 there. Midfield, Bergvall has made, considering the chaos that we've had for most of the season, I think Bergvall's done bloody well to come in his first season with no system, no basic coaching, and he's just gone from strength to strength. I'd like to see a proper manager back in that was with a Paulinho type that Gray could shadow, because I think he needs developing as well. Mikey Moore, I think I've said all along, he's generational as far as the academy is concerned. I think the kid's going to be absolutely superb. Again, it's been a bit of a broken season for him. because of the illness. He got into the team. He had that great cameo against Alkmaar, played against Palace, and then caught the virus. So he was out for 3 months.
Lubo, would you send him on loan?
Mikey Moore.
Yeah. Is he
No,
going to get enough games and enough starts now that we're in the Champions League to develop?
I think with a good coach, you know, Moore and Wary came up together through all the England age groups, through schoolboys. And the Arsenal boy's been given his chance by Arteta. And Moore hasn't. You know, you can't chuck someone in for a few minutes, then 6-8 games down the line, throw him in again. You either take a view that you're going to give him a run, even if it's off the bench, but you've got to make sure he's on the bench. And he was left off the bench for a few games as well. Yeah. I think he is that good that I think this is again a key season. He's not ready to be a starter, nowhere near ready, but bring him in, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you know, integrate him slowly.
You just said that Solomon had a really good loan spell and now you'd bring him back. Don't you think Mikey Moore needs that now? Just a 1-year loan spell at a club that's on the up, and then
maybe.
I don't think he's going to get the minutes. Yeah, West Brom's a good shout. I don't think. Yeah, look, Mason knows him as well. Yeah.
Should we just send all our kids to Ryan Mason at West Brom?
Yeah.
Should we just like Jamie Donnelly, Ryan Mason, Dorrington, just get Ashley Phillips, just get them all out there.
In terms of who I build around, you've got the back five. Maddison's key as well. For me, that's all that I would say. Right, let's build around them. The rest, in terms of, you know, if you're are we talking about who would you bring in a bit later, Dan? Is that one of the questions?
Basically, the squad now. Who would you think we can work with?
Well, the 3 players that I wanted that I thought would make a difference were Paulinia, because that fills a gap. Eze, because we need someone to get up off our seats against low blocks when we're struggling. Somebody that can create something out of nothing. We haven't got that sort of player. And I did say Mbeumo, but the other boy that I've liked, and he had a much better first half of the season than the second half, but the other boy that I did see when I did watch limited European football that I thought was very good, that could play on the wing, is Jamie Gittins, who was at Borussia Dortmund. And I'd like to see Spurs maybe bring him in if Mbeumo's going to United.
Chelsea.
Who, Gittins?
But Bino Gittins apparently is in conversations with Chelsea.
So
regarding the players,
the Jadon Sancho replacement, apparently. Apparently.
Yeah.
Don't shoot me.
We've got a question about who we should be bringing in a little while. So we'll get to that. Nige, your thoughts on this squad?
It's really difficult. So I'm not, you know, usually watching Spurs, you fall in love with players, don't you? There's not anyone in the squad now that I'm like, wow, I just want to build a side around. Maddison would probably be the one if I had to choose one. Again, similar to back five, but again, I'm with Dan. I'm not overly keen on Vicario. I think he's poor with his feet. I think he flaps too much. I want someone a bit more commanding, even though he is a good shot stopper. So I would say Maddison would probably be the one that I'd be. Otherwise, I wouldn't be fussed if anyone left, to be honest.
But not even Mickey, Nige?
Pardon?
Not even Van der Ven? You wouldn't be fussed if he left?
I like him. He's a good player. Again, it's hard to tell with the system we play. You know, a lot, I think it's been said already. We don't know, do we? We don't even know who's going to be in charge yet next season. So I'd like to see Van der Ven in a deeper line to see how he plays. I don't like him in this high line because I just feel he's going to get injured all the time. But for me, Maddison would be the one. I like Bergvall as well. But it's hard to look at anyone and think, wow. You know, I used to look at Spurs teams of the past and be like, you know, I can name 5 or 6 players in a team and be like, I just don't want them to go. Now I'm just not fussed by any of them.
Is it also a question that is a bit clouded because of the system that we played for 2 years, that you can't really judge when you're looking at chaos that we've had? Is it unfair to judge players based on that chaos?
But a lot of them are.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, a lot of them we've seen for years, either with Spurs or other clubs. And again, is there anyone there that you've ever seen at another club that you've gone, oh my God, that is a wow player? Like the question there about Van der Ven, I think that whenever the people are asked about Van der Ven, they miss the key thing is the boy is never fit. That boy has missed more than 50% of games since he's joined Tottenham for 2 years. You know, and you've got people going, oh, this boy's nearly world class. I mean, well, hang on. First and foremost, I've got to see this boy play week in, week out to call him world class. Second of all, I've got to see him when I'm not just judging him on how quick he can run back to save our asses on a transition. So I like Mickey Van der Ven, Lubo, but let me ask you this. If we start next season with Van der Ven and Romero, what I don't want to hear is if they both get injured, people going, oh, well, it's not fair because if you look at the number of games that we play with or without them, yeah, but we know that now. We've got 2 years of evidence, 4 years with Romero, 2 years with Van der Ven that tells you these boys get injured. These boys are going to keep getting injured. Yeah. How do you build a team around that centre-back pairing when you know they don't play a lot?
I think the answer there, I sort of split it in two. With Van der Ven, they sent him out, didn't they, for several weeks to the States to try and change the angle of his runs so that the hamstrings are under less stress. Now, if this has worked, and we'll find out soon enough next season, then hopefully the games that he plays, will increase dramatically.
So so Saturday, Wednesday, absolutely. League and Champions League. I don't believe it.
If they've sorted it out, if he's missing an eighth of the games that he's missed this season, so then it will just fall into the bracket of a normal, a player with normal injuries.
So Ian, what has he actually done? What have they? Sorry.
Hang on, Dad. Sorry, let me just go retort to Lubo on that. Isn't the danger, and again, this is just all by hypothetical. It's not that I don't rate Mickey Van der Ven. Yeah. It's availability, right? Isn't the worry, and again, loads of caveats, if Ange is the manager and if we continue to play this high line, isn't the danger that you're building a defence again around a man who's fit less than 50% of the time? Then every time that man is not there, we're all going, oh, but when Mickey comes back, because we've got no one else. Look at all the other centre-halves at the club. They're all good in the air. Like, look at Dragoshin. Look at
Danso.
So these boys are not that ilk. So how do you... I'm just a bit confused as to how we build around Mickey Van der Ven. That's my concern with him.
Yeah, Mickey Van der Ven is not one you build around, I would say. He's part of... The reason he is so important to us is because of Angie's crazy tactics, basically, that we rely that hard on a defender to be a freak of nature, which Van der Ven is, on how fast he can run, to come back and cover our ass every time, basically. But we've also, the way, because of these tactics and the way we play, Angie's basically ruined his career. Not far from it. Because if he gets another hamstring injury, a proper one, you can pretty much say he's done and dusted to the capability of what he could have had. I mean, Ian, what I was going to ask you, you were saying like he's been doing, I read about it, teaching him how to run or something along those lines. What is it they've been actually doing with him?
They're trying to change his style of running so that there is less stress on the hamstring.
Okay.
And so we don't know whether it worked so far. Ange played him sparingly when he got back, but in the last few games, thankfully, the hamstrings were fine. He didn't get injured. He played 90 minutes, and he was okay. Yes, obviously, if you're playing Saturday, Wednesday, then obviously that's the acid test. If we're sat here with your season 2 finale in a year's time, guys, and you've asked us the same question, and Mickey's missed the same number of games, then yes, obviously, for me it'll be selling. But I want to see whether this trip to the States has worked or not.
What is it going to do?
in his career, he's had 1 year where he's had over 30 league appearances. He's 24, so he's been a pro footballer since he was 17. Yeah. So in about 6-7 seasons, he's had 1 year where he's played 30 plus league games, one. And he's had 1 year where he's played 34 plus games in all competitions. For Spurs, he's played 40 league games, right, out of 76 available to him.
Sure.
40 out of 76. This is, and again, I'm not talking about ability, guys. This isn't ability. This is availability.
Sure.
I'm just so concerned about building around that. I feel like that is. Can I setting ourselves up to fail again?
Can I come at this? Can we come at it from a different angle? Can we come at it from a different angle?
Because just answer Sav on that, because the same thing has happened with Sessegnon. And Sessegnon had some special surgery on his hamstrings, and he leaves. We sort out the hamstrings. He's now playing for Fulham. He's playing every game, and he's not getting any hamstring injuries.
Well, that's not That's not strictly true, Lubo. I mean, let's not go ridiculous with that. Ryan Sessegnon this season. Ryan Sessegnon's managed 22 games in all competitions and 16 league appearances. So let's not pretend he's left us and he's played.
When they sorted him out.
Yeah, I just think when your hamstrings go that much, and Mickey's 24 and his hamstrings have gone that much by this age, I think if you keep Mickey and build around him, you have got to get rid of one of those centre halves and bring in someone who is quick. You can't have Danso or Dragoshin as his replacement because both of them are very different style. Sorry, Stel.
Exactly. And the other question is with the running, just on the running bit, I just want to ask. I mean, okay, teaching someone how to run is okay. I suppose there's a way to do it and that, but is he really going to think of that when the ball comes flying over his head in the middle of a game, when he just turns around and has to sprint how many times in a match down to the other end of the pitch to try and rescue it? Is he actually going to be thinking of how he should be running as such? That's when your natural instincts are going to kick in, I would have thought. I don't know how all this works. That's why
is this a thing, Ian? Ian, is this an actual thing? Would you changing how someone runs at that age?
They were doing it last year. They were doing it last year.
Okay. It's just how it actually works or whatever. I haven't got a clue because I can't really see what difference that's going to make in a moment where you turn around and sprint and think, hang on a second, I should run like this. It just instinct, you're going to be off, but it obviously must help in some way. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it.
I think the other thing is, if we get another manager who plays a lower line, then there's going to be less of those long sprint recovery runs.
Agreed.
Obviously.
Let Stel come in and then we'll move to the next question. Otherwise, we'll be on it all night.
You asked, Lubo said, can you really judge the players when we're playing so chaotically? I think yes and no. It doesn't matter what system we play. Heung-min Son is now at the end of his levels. He cannot continue at Spurs, regardless what system you play. He's not the Son that we know, right? He's been brilliant for the club. It's time to move on. And I don't think we should build around any player because that's what PSG did with Mbappe. Then they got rid of him and they just built a team. And look at them.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where every club had a superstar player, right? Let's build around Bale. Let's build around Kane. Let's build around Gaza. Nowadays, players are so similar, robotic, drilled, creativity, coach the shit out of them. That's why Yamal stands out because he's got no competition at the moment. There's hardly any players of his level. Just sign really good players and build a team. I don't think we need to build around anyone at Spurs because we don't have anyone who is class.
So Stel, that kind of moves on to the next. Yeah, I get you. I totally agree with you. And I think let's move on to the next question where it kind of moves on to that area. So what style actually wins? Tottenham, what style of play should Tottenham commit to be competitive?
Don't commit to anything. Be flexible. Don't commit to nothing. Just be flexible. Right. Let me go first on this and everyone else can go. I was saying this to Dan last year. There's a difference between strategy and tactic. strategy is how you want to go about winning. Tactics is how you deliver it. For example, your strategy might be, I want to play possession football because if we keep the ball, they can't score. And if we keep the ball, we can score. So that's my strategy. I'm going to play possession-based football. The tactic is right. How do you do it? Is it a 4-3-3? Is it a 3-4-3? Is it with inverted fullbacks? Is it with overlap? Tweak your tactics, but you don't need to change your strategy. Right? You can stick with that strategy for a whole season. Maybe 1 or 2 games you say, do you know what? We're down to 10 men. We're not playing well. Just sit back and hold on to a 1-0 league. Fuck possession football for the next 30 minutes. At Spurs, what we do is, I think fans in general, they confuse strategy and tactics, and they confuse the two. I'm happy with Spurs to have a possession-based strategy. I think it's the best strategy in football at the moment. Keep the ball. But it's how it's done that we have arguments and disagreements with for the last 2 years. Should it be a transitional possession-based system? Should it be an intensive, aggressive, high press with a high line or a mid line? Should it be just keep the ball, players interchanging positions, lots of triangles? Should it be a 3-4-3? Should it be a 4-4-2? Should it be... And it goes on and on and on. I think we should have a strategy. Maybe people call that a philosophy. Have a strategy, but it's the tactics that need to change in game. When shit happens, you need to adapt. And this is the biggest criticism of Ange, and it's my biggest concern with him as well. I haven't lost that concern. So for me, I don't care how we should play, as long as the tactics are adapted when we can all see this ain't working, right? I think we can all agree we know when it's not working.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to add on to that? What Stel said?
I'll make him right. I think there is. You're right. There's a very big difference between tactics and philosophy. You know, there can be 2 different attacking teams that have different philosophies on how they attack. Right? It's very different. You know, same with defensive teams. Same with teams that keep possession. You know, if you look at there's teams that keep possession, but it's high intensity possession. It's moving the ball quickly to get the other team to get their players out of shape. Then you get the possession, which we've done all season, which is a lot of passes, a lot of possession, but not really moving the other team. It's just a lot of passes. So there's difference. It's so difficult to say what is winning football because look, and again, I'm sure one of your questions is going to move on at some point to Ange Postecoglou. But
yeah,
when you look at Tottenham, at the moment, I would say I don't know what we are. I hear that we're an attacking team. I don't think we are. I hear that we're a possession-based team. Yeah, but it's a lot of passes between Van de Ven, Romero, Sarr, back to Van de Ven. We're not an intricate passing team. We're not a free-flowing counter-attack. So I don't really know what we are. So in terms of what do we want to be,
what would you have?
Whoever the manager is.
Saba, what would you have? What would you prefer?
Who's the manager?
Okay, just I don't know. Just think. What football do you like to watch in the Premier League? What football in the Premier League is successful in winning things consistently?
I like high energy teams where everyone knows their job, where partnerships are formed across the pitch. That if I go, somebody in front of me drops and stays and covers and understands when I'm going to go. And I like teams that when they get into the final third, I like them to be direct. Yeah, I like them to be direct. And that's why, dare I say, I don't mind managers like Frank and Silva, etc., because their teams, when they get into the final third, there's not a lot of messing around with it. It is, let's get the ball to those danger men and let's get that ball into the back of the net. What teams like Tottenham tend to do is we have a lot of possession outside the box. Pass, a million passes. We allow the other team to get back into their defensive shape. And then we're going, it's really difficult to break this down. So, look, I kind of like when I watch Brighton. Brighton are a fluid team. The players seem to know. Like there's a shelf life with Brighton, right? There's only so high they can go with the caliber of players they have. But I like watching them. I like their movement on the ball, Dan. I like that, their players are interchanging, good passing, 1-2s or what. When I was coaching, it was called the wall pass.
Yeah.
We don't seem to do any of that. We seem to be a very static football team in the opposition third, always looking for that kind of PlayStation goal. Do you remember on PlayStation where whichever game it was, you used to press the triangle or whatever, and it would pull the ball back and you'd score, and it would be like impossible to stop. That's what Tottenham do the whole time. So I just want to see something a bit more dynamic. But Dan, the key thing for me is this: whatever the tactics are, I just want to see that it's drilled, Dan. I want to see that it's well drilled. I want to see that when we lose the ball, it's not absolute chaos and everyone's shitting themselves. I don't want to see that when we lose the ball, it's suddenly 4-on-2 at the other end every single time.
And do you think these players can do it, Sava? Do you think these players that we have, can they do it?
Of course, if they're coached, you've got to have a coach. And this is the thing. This is why there's a lot of teams in and around us, higher than us, that don't have the squads we have, but they are well drilled. And I'm going to murder this saying, and Lubo will probably tell me, is it the sum of the parts are greater than the one, right? Like, is that the right saying? Do you know what I mean? Like all the parts of these teams individually, you don't look at them and go, look at that 11, but you look at these teams and go, look how well drilled they are. Look at Forest. Look how well drilled they are. On paper, I don't want many of Nottingham Forest's 11. If you're going to be brutally honest, I don't really want many of their 11. On paper, they're all well drilled. So I just think we need that coaching, whatever it is, whatever the tactics. It's got to be someone that can implement it and put their own ego aside to make us hard to beat. I want to be hard to beat. I don't want to lose 10 league games at home.
No, definitely not. Oh, you're right, Sava. I agree. Who wants to come in now? Dan?
For me, I mean, again, everyone's got their own style of how they rather play. I think everyone knows my way by now. For me, you start at the back. It's not the scoring goals for me, it's the defence. You need that solid goalkeeper and you need that solid defence, and you build up from there. That is how I would play anyway. When it comes down to the long run, it's a goalkeeper and defence that win you a league. Okay, you need the goals and whatever so far. Yeah. But when it comes down to a real crunch, it's your goalkeeper can save you 10 points a season, easy, if you've got a solid goalkeeper. And I'm not saying Vicario hasn't done that for us either. And your defence is where it all starts. And then pushing up from there, basically. I want a solid defence. That's why I play with 3 at the back. That's why I would have it at this moment in time. Danzo, Romero, and Van der Ven there. But then it also depends on how we're going to play them as well. For me, it starts from the back. I prefer counter-attacking, fast, direct style of football. I don't like all this piss balling about tap, 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 tap sort of thing.
So you're not a possession fan, Dan? You're not a possession fan?
No, no. This is why the first thing I always do whenever I've played, either whether it's Football Manager or FIFA, or when I've played football or stuff like that, anything to do with it, I always start from the back and make sure I've got a solid goalkeeper and a solid defence. And then from there, you can build outwards. If you've got the solid keeper, solid defence and that, and you can take the crap that's coming at you, and as long as you've got another person there who's got a good direct ball on him forward, you can get that ball up there in a matter of 3 passes and score a goal. I just prefer to play with a solid defence.
Dan, the problem with the lack of possession, and by the way, I've got no problem with that. The problem with the lack of possession is, to do that, you've got to be a bloody organised team. If you are spending most of the game without the ball, you have to have the players that are switched on, and you have to have a coach that absolutely drills that into the players. Some teams can do it, some teams can't. This manager,
I agree.
At all.
Yeah, I mean, forget Ange in this aspect, because like I've said it a million times, go get the best defense on the planet and go get Nesta and Maldini sitting there in the middle, or whoever you want, and they will still be made look like pretty shit bang average defenders if they play under Ange Postecoglou. Go get the best 4 defenders ever in the universe, and I bet you they'd still look bang average under Ange because of his tactics. that has nothing to do with defence. His tactics screw the defence out because he doesn't play for defence. Whereas again, for me personally, I start at the back and build the way forward. Whereas other people would rather start at the front with a top striker and just get the ball up as much as they can. You score 3, we score 4, whatever. It's each their own. But for me, the stability has got to start at the back.
Agreed.
Ian, Nige, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I agree with Dan. I think the players that we've got at the moment suit a 3 at the back. We've got Porro and Udogie with wing backs. So for me, what's surprising is that, Ange hasn't seen this and understood this in 2 years. It would have given us, if you're going to play without a 6, then play 3 at the back, because you've got to have a little bit more stability. You're closing down the space that the other teams are getting. I mean, if he plays inverted fullbacks against PSG, I mean, what's our Doué and Kvaratskhelia going to do to us down those wings? Seriously,
Lupo, you know this 3 at the back thing. I agree. What I will say is this though: how many games this season have we had a combination of 4 out of Van de Ven, Romero, Danzo, Dragusin, Van de Ven fit to do it?
Well,
the only time, but hold on, no, I'm just asking the question. The only time he's had those players to do it was in the final month where he was resting everyone for the Europa. So he's never actually had those players to do it, even if we wanted to see it.
But it has been his fault, a lot of it. It is Angie's fault that we lost our 2 centre-backs for, 3 months?
3 months.
You rushed Van de Ven back, 100%. You rushed him back.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
And he did the same with Romero as well, because he
know,
did it both in the same
Romero
game against
okay.
Chelsea. And that is probably, the way he went and done that has got to be one of the most stupid things I've ever seen a manager do. Okay, I'd get if it had started one of them. Took that chance, but to go and take the chance to put them both on there when they blatantly ain't match fit, anyone could see that. Anybody knew that, because being fit and match fit are 2 different things, aren't they?
We didn't have Danzo then either. But when they got injured, we didn't have
No.
Danzo.
Sure.
He came at the end of
Hang on.
January.
So what can I just ask then? So from January last year to May, when he bought in Radu Dragusin and he had all 5 of them fit, he didn't do it once. At the beginning of this season, when everyone was fit, he didn't do it once. I feel like we can't just turn around and go, oh, we didn't have them available. He was never going to do it anyway, was he? That's not how he plays.
No, but
he goes against everything.
He's not going to
this
play.
man
I don't think he'll play all 3 when there's no sub to come off the bench if one gets injured or one gets tired. You need someone on the bench as well. If you're going to play the back 3, you need, in my opinion, minimum 4 centre backs.
Well, I think you probably need 5 or 6 still.
Yeah, that's why I said minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum
Yeah,
4.
He's the one that said
We've only had that. We only had that. We only had that the last month.
At the moment, we've got 8 on the books. We've got 8 centre backs on the books.
Lubo, I don't class Ben Davies. He's awful.
Okay. Take him out, you got 7. With Vuskovic, Dorrington, Phillips, Danzo, Dragusin, and Romero and Mickey. You got 7.
Phillips is on loan. He should have kept him. There's an argument to say he should have kept him. He should have kept Phillips. Why sign him otherwise? I can accept that. Vuskovic is on loan. Who's the other one?
Dorrington.
He's too young. He's not ready for this. Dorrington's not ready for this.
Do you know? Still,
have we ever seen him do it? Has anyone ever seen Ange do it in his career, though, for us to say that, he would have adapted? For me, I don't think this guy's ever going to do anything other than the way he plays with a 4 at the back, because it completely ruins the rest of his system, doesn't it? If he played a back 5, it ruins the rest of his chaotic system.
If he keeps inverting the fullbacks, then no, he won't. No chance. No chance. If he keeps inverting the fullbacks, then Sava's right. He won't do it.
I think we're all sitting here with the benefit of hindsight of 2 seasons, and he's not changed that, has he? He's never played. He played a back 3 against Everton. I was told there was no training before the match, and we're 3 down at half time, and then it was abandoned.
Lubo, who was that back 3? Who was that back three? He should never have done that.
Archie Gray,
It was
wasn't it?
Gray, Dragerson, and Davis, was it?
That going to a back three with those players was absolutely stupid.
Suicidal.
Like, fuck, it was never going to work.
Guys,
Gray's not a
we all
centre
agree-
back. Ben Davies is slow. Dragusin's the only one really you'd say, yeah, makes sense. But the rest,
Can I ask though, guys? The thing is, if we even without the free, even if we're going to say he needed to play a free, the fact that in 4 transfer windows the man has not signed the DM is absolutely baffling to me. How surely anyone, the first thing they do is go, okay, I like to, not me, I'm speaking as him. I like to play 2 inverted fullbacks that are never actually at fullback. Right, what do I need to make that work? Right, well, I need some protection. Surely that is coaching 101. If I've got 2 centre-backs, I'm going to protect them. And in 4 windows and 17 signings, this man has not gone, do you know what I need? I need a number 6. That baffles me more than you can imagine.
That
He
is
could've
where
gone
it
to Celtic.
shows.
He could have gone to Celtic and got Callum McGregor, who was his 6th at Celtic.
Could have got so many.
there's lots of players he could have got. We could have got Mandaconi for 20 million when he went to Roma.
Yeah.
We could have got him. There's loads of players.
There's
loads of players.
That's the biggest thing for me, guys. That's the biggest thing for me.
No, I
It-
suffer you.
you
Yes,
can
you're right.
play inverted all you want, but protect your back 4. And when you are
But that's-
seeing the opposition have 4-on-2 in most attacks every game, and you're not changing that, and when people go, oh, but yeah, players injured, that's not an injury problem. That's a tactical issue, right?
I mean,
That's a tactical issue. When when Bournemouth had players out injured, they swapped what's his name at right back to play central midfield. Can't even think of his name now. Cook. Whoever
Wilson.
the right back went in to play in centre mid when they had injuries, right? But he slotted in because they played the same style, protecting the back 4, and it worked. What we did was we had all these injuries, and Ange went, all right, I've got young Archie Gray at centre half. I'll tell you what I'll do. I won't protect him in any way at all. I won't get Porro to tuck in and keep him in check. I won't ask any of my midfielders to sit in front of him. I'll leave him exposed. And that's why the whole injury excuse doesn't cut it for me. If you leave your team wide open on purpose every game, that's on you. So that for me is massively got to be addressed.
This
Massively.
is why, again, he's won a cup. Great. He can get a Blue Peter badge for it and another 2.5 million and fuck off. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that as blunt as that, but that's
Daniel.
my attitude with him.
Daniel.
And when it comes down to it, it just shows to me what a low mentality football knowledge he has to an extent of just having the attitude of you score 3, we score 4. I mean, that's the way I used to play like down the park with my mates when I was like 13, 14 sort of thing. Yeah?
Dan, he won a trophy. He's not stupid, mate. This manager ain't stupid.
Well, if you let me finish.
I listen to a lot of what you say,
obviously.
but low
Okay.
mentality.
Okay,
I
but let me
can't
change
say
it.
that.
Yeah, well,
Can't say
the mentality that was that good that he could adapt and everything, that he went from playing one way of you score 3, we score 4 to the other way of I just stick 11 men behind the goal and just hope that something happens.
He didn't hope.
He
He
hasn't-
planned it because they realised they couldn't. That's the way they had to play in Europe.
He hasn't got a high mentality on the football side when it comes to tactics and games. Okay, he adapted in 2 games there which pretty much any one of us could have done that and just said to the whole team, right, sit behind the ball, take everything you got. And
Yeah, but
if
he
you get a
gets
chance,
criticised
get
for
the
not
ball out there.
adapting, and then when he adapts and wins a trophy, we criticise him. There's no how does that work?
I'm just,
don't think
I'm-
Dan's
I'm not
criticising him over the
criticising him
game.
because he adapted. I'm not saying
He just said he's got low mentality. Is that not a criticism?
His overall football mentality is low, I think. Yeah.
Is that not a criticism?
Okay, if you want to call that a criticism, I mean, fair play. That
Well, I'm
he
asking you
adapted.
guys because you said that. I'm asking you guys. Is that not a criticism?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
think
it is. I
still-
think he's got a low.
Because everyone just said that's not a criticism. I'm like, maybe I heard something different.
Yeah,
It wasn't how it was meant, but the way I'm
So it is a
trying to put
criticism.
it across, basically, yeah, okay, it's a criticism. He has got a low football mentality, and when it comes to it, it's his way. You score 3, we score 4. Or the other way he changed it, and the only reason he changed it is because he had no bloody option, and it was his career on the line. I mean, whether it's going to save his job at Spurs or not, but it was also for Because if he wouldn't have won that cup, he would have walked away from here as probably the worst manager the Premier League has ever seen of what he has done with a club of Spurs size. That cup saved his ass. And the tactics he used for it, he just basically stuck everyone behind it. He just went from one extreme to another. Now, when I say low mentality, I'm not saying the fella's thick. I'm not saying he can't put 2 and 2 together. I said football mentality. And we obviously know there's a lot of coaches out there that are brighter than other coaches out there when it comes to how to adapt in the middle of a game to a system, when how you play when you know that the most dangerous player is their left winger, so you double up on him and stuff like that. And for me, doesn't have that capability, and he has done nothing to prove that he's got it.
Right, guys, I think still what I was trying to say is that Dan, overall,
I'll just ask you a question, because when I hear things, it doesn't make sense in my head. I ask a question, and people think I'm trying to pull them out. I'm not. I just didn't get it.
No, you got to ask if you don't.
I think he was looking at overall, Dan. Is that right? Overall, Angie's time in here. That's what you were judging, right?
Mm. Do you know what I think this guy did? I think in January, whatever it was, February, fuck knows, he made a decision. The league's done, right? And either I can keep trying hard in the league and at best I'll finish 9th, or I'm going to completely mug it off, but I've got to make sure we don't get relegated. Once relegation was avoided, he mugged off every single game, and whether we think it's right or wrong, and the league became non-existent, and he went all out for the Europa by playing differently, resting players, and he pulled it off.
I reckon what happened there still was when it came to January.
Let me just say one thing, right?
I've gone, mate.
Right. He gets a lot of criticism for mugging the league off. For me, had you lost that final, then this conversation is very different from me. But because he pulled it off, I look at it differently now. Once Liverpool knew they'd won the league, do you know how many games they won? 0.
Big difference.
0.
Big difference.
No, because they knew the league was won. Spurs knew they couldn't get relegated. Once Arsenal knew they couldn't win the league, do you know how many games they won? 1. So once your target is met, a lot of teams switch off. Our target was just such a low one. Survive, right? Our target was the worst, like just survive.
What was the date he switched off? Can you let us know? What date did he switch off?
When we beat Ipswich, we were 16 in February. We were 16 points clear. After Ipswich, we won 1, drew with Bournemouth and West Ham. We beat Southampton, drew with Bournemouth and West Ham, and lost the other 9.
When it was when we were mathematically safe. When we were mathematically safe, there was 6 games to go.
Okay, but still,
so he'd lost.
He didn't throw the 6, did he? He threw
no. I believe we'd lost 16 games. That's it. Yeah, we'd lost 16 games when relegation was guaranteed not to happen for us. So the next 6 losses meant absolutely nothing. The difference is, had we have won those, we would have finished, I think, 10th or 9th.
I get all those arguments. I just don't get how we have to chuck a league when we're playing Bodo Glimt in the semi-final.
I think what happened
to avoid injuries, bro. You were getting injuries. He avoided it, isn't it? He didn't want to.
I think what happened, he was going to get the sack
because when he brought them back in the league, they kept getting injured. So he just.
I think Levy was going to sack him at Christmas, and everyone was saying like, "We want our Levy back," basically. I think them two sat down and had a long, hard look at it. And the season was basically done and dusted. If you get a new manager in there, you could rescue the league, but you won't get in Champions League. It won't going to happen. And Levy needed, not just Levy, but Tottenham needed Champions League this year more than anything, more than any other time. Not just for the money side of it, but basically people putting money into the club, whatever else and that, because they want to build outside of it. They needed that Champions League more than ever this year. And I think Levy sat down and had to make a decision. Right. There's only one way to get in this Champions League now. And that is go for the Europa Cup. So he didn't care about the league. He didn't care about either the other 2 cups. And I think he came to the deal with Ange of basically the only reason I don't sack you now is if you're willing to throw the league and everything else and just go for that Europa Cup. And then he had to make the decision, do I stick with Ange to do it? Or do I get rid of Ange, get Ryan Mason in it, or get Mickey Mouse on there, whatever. And I think they came to the deal basically where Ange was more than willing to sit there and say, yep, I'll blow the league out, everything else out, and basically go for the Europa Cup. Because with how poor the bottom 3 were, we weren't getting relegated. There could have been a bit more of a relegation battle there, but it weren't going to happen. We weren't going to be that bad compared to them. That's what I think happens.
Hang on. Sorry. Let me go. Let me do a Mr. Box Office style here, right? What a load of absolute waffle from everyone. Ange just said he threw the league, so now everyone's going on like Ange threw the league. What a load of waffle. He's just been... Hang on. I've just...
So why did he rotate players then and put a weaker team in the Premier League?
Can I at least get my point out before you...
fair enough. Me, right? No, fair enough. Yeah.
This has been happening all season before we got to we threw the league, right? This is ridiculous. I keep hearing different people going, right, well, when we got to January, we realised that the league couldn't be done. There was nothing we could do. And then we won 3 games in February. Well, why did we win those 3 games in February if they didn't mean anything and he was throwing league games? Why did we play a full...
Not throwing it.
Hang on, guys, come on. Let me talk.
Yeah, but Sava, because we had to survive. We couldn't get relegated.
Hang on, right? But still, this is not what you've been saying all season either. So I'm going to park that for a second because I know you don't believe this, right? You can't.
Said, okay, go on. You go, and I'll come back.
Yeah. I know what you said, that if he wins it, that you'll be Ange in start the season. Cool, but that doesn't change what we're talking about now, right? I'm sorry, but it doesn't, right? If you've been criticising a man all season when you knew he had injuries and when you knew the circumstances, then all of a sudden when he wins and he says, oh, we threw the league, right? First and foremost, if I've got a manager that needs to throw the league to beat AZ Alkmaar, Frankfurt and Bodo Glimt, then this manager is shit. I'm sorry. If we need to rest players and rotate to beat these teams who are all nowhere near as good as us, that is a true concern. That is a massive concern. This isn't like we were playing Champions League teams week in, week out, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Other people may have changed. Other people may be lenient. We're Tottenham Hotspur fucking football club, right? These players are paid an absolute fortune to play for Tottenham Hotspur. Mm-hmm. People, even on this panel, pay thousands of pounds a year travelling around the country, going to home games. And I'm led to believe now that all the games we lost, it was Ange saying to them, don't worry today, guys. Just go out there and lose another game. Sorry, if that's the case, right? Why did we nearly come back against Forest when we were all over Forest for most of the game? Right? That didn't look like a team to me that weren't playing. It just looked like a team to me that weren't good enough, right? If that was the case, why did we nearly come back against Wolves? If all of these games were thrown, right? Hang on. If all of these games were thrown, right? Why weren't we hammered every game 3 or 4-0? Right? This is mad. Why did he put a full strength team out against Chelsea if all of these games were thrown? This is just absolutely crazy that we are Tottenham Hotspur. No manager in the history of the world that I can remember has ever finished 17th. And the fans at the end have sat back and gone, well, he did throw it to win a cup. You know why this is? Let me finish, Dan. Let me finish, right? This is because we're so hungry for a trophy. This is because we are so hungry. Like my man Eddie Murphy said, if you're hungry, someone throws you a cracker, that's the goddamn best cracker you've ever eaten, right? It doesn't change the fact that before we got to January, the results were horrific. With the injuries, without the injuries, the results were horrific for the 6 months previous season. The results were horrific then as well. We are making excuses at every turn for why this manager has done so bad in the league. Yeah? What was the excuse for the second half of last season when we were losing, playing once a week and all the players were fit? There was an excuse then. There was an excuse when we lost 5 of our first 12 league games this year, which was our worst start for 17 years. There was an excuse then. Then the injuries came in, and it was an excuse. Then the manager that you're all backing here, by the way, the manager that you're all giving some leniency to,
I'm not.
He's the one that turned around and said, wait till our players come back. You're going to see, I think he said, watch how remarkably improved we are. We actually got worse when all the footballers come back. So I'm sorry, guys. We can sit here and make any excuse we want. No other club in the world lets their manager get to 17th and play in that final. We are, that is our mentality as fans, right? That we are going, it's okay to finish 17th.
It's not.
Right? Because we won that trophy. We should be utterly ashamed. 22 league defeats is embarrassing. 1 win in our last 12 league games is utterly shameful. And that one win was against Southampton, the worst team in the country. Not the Premier League, the worst team in the country. Right? Have some pride. Have something about us, surely.
When I say thrown it, Sam, I'm not saying he went out there to lose the bloody
I disagree
games.
with that, by the way. I disagree with that.
I think him and Levy sat there.
Season. No.
And Levy
You've said the same as me all
basically,
season. So no, you don't disagree with that.
I do disagree.
We've worked together every week.
My pride is winning a European trophy. My pride is winning a trophy. Yours is the league. My pride is going to that parade. Yours is being on YouTube and saying, right, this still ain't good enough. Our pride is different, Sava. We've got different pride. We've got different pride.
No. Don't pretend you know my pride. My pride is yes.
Well, you just told me. You just said to me, you have some pride, man.
Yeah, because it doesn't mean because.
But I do, though. I do. I'm proud that we were winners of the Europa Cup for the 3rd time in our history. I'm proud that we qualified back for the Champions League.
22 league games.
Who cares if we're back in the Champions League? Finish 4th. It's the same reward.
Pride. Where's the pride? Where's the pride?
The pride is Sava. The pride is
every game was relevant.
We've achieved exactly the same as Arsenal this year, if not more. That's my pride.
But this isn't about
at the end of the season.
Stop doing that. This isn't about Arsenal.
No, it is. No, it is because you're focusing everything on the league table. You're focusing everything on the league table. I'm not.
No, I'm not. No, Stel, you're making that up. Because that's your narrative.
No, I'm not. I'm really happy with what the Europa Cup. I don't care about 17th. I don't care.
Listen to what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I hate this when you go, you only care about the league. No. We should have won that Europa League and had a respectable league position. Listen,
yes.
No manager's ever done that in the history of Enoch and Levy. No manager's ever done that.
No, listen to the words that came out my mouth.
I am. You don't like the answer.
Not.
No manager's ever done. I am. No manager has done what you've said. No manager.
What do you mean? Even one day Ramos had a respectable league position.
He finished 8th or 9th.
And won a cup. What?
So he finished 8th or 9th. He never finished top 6.
Yes, but it wasn't 17th and our worst ever Premier League season. That's the difference.
But he threw the rest of the games after we'd guaranteed relegation. If he just focused on the league and mugged off the Europa and rotating, the league position would have been better. Because I never thought he'd win the Europa. Because I never thought
video footage galore of you on my channel agreeing with everything I'm saying now.
You've also got video footage of me. You've also got video footage of me saying I never thought he'd win the Europa.
I know, but again,
so I got it wrong. I admit I got it wrong.
No, but still, hang on. There are 2 things here, right? This is where football fans don't understand.
I understand. I'm a football fan.
Let me talk.
Well, then don't talk to me like I don't understand, mate. I understand.
Just because he proved you wrong in the Europa doesn't mean that everything else you've said about him all season is wrong. Everything you've said all season. No, it doesn't. You've called him out all year on tactics. You've not been wrong. You've been spot on about it. You've called him. Hang on, let me finish. You've called him out all year on, you have got injuries, mate. But a good manager, you said a good manager adapts. A good manager plays with the cards that he's dealt, and he didn't do that. So all of these things, you said he doesn't create a pathway for the youth. You said he's not drilled the defence. You said he needs to implement a number 6. All of that has not changed because he won a Europa League. So we can turn around and go, thank you for winning the trophy. Thank you for getting that off our back. But you can't now turn around and say everything you've said you didn't, because you did say it. And it was true. It was true what you said.
A lot of losses were down to exactly what you just said that I said. But a lot of losses were not down to that. A lot of our losses this year as well, Sava, came down to him saying, when I watched us in the Europa, I saw a group of players that threw their neck on the line. They threw the kitchen sink at it. They defended for their lives. They attacked with a bit more purpose. When I watched this in the Premier League, I saw a different energy level, a different desire. That
Different
to me,
level of teams.
now having... Let me
No
finish.
desire.
Yeah, proper
Now,
football
let me
teams.
finish. Let me finish.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
Right. Okay, thank you. When we won the Europa, now I look back and I say to myself, do you know what? Why is it when I went to Bilbao, we fought for everything to defend that goal like soldiers, yet in the Premier League, we can't do it against average team. What's going on here? And for me, what I think's happened is those players knew that at some point, whether it was January, February, March, at some point they knew, guys, all our focus on Europa, we ain't doing nothing in the league. And they played with a different energy and a different mindset in Europa. That's what I believed happened. Do I think tactically there's questions about this guy? I've said it 1,000 times. Yes. Do I think that this guy has got to convince me he can adapt in the league? I've said it 1,000 times. Yes. I've said it 1,000,000 times. I've got concerns about Ange. I don't disagree. But to tell me that the league table is a true justifier, that 17th is a true reflection of what we are and what he could have done had he just focused on that, it's not. Because
It is.
once it's not, Sava, because he got 5th when there's only one game a week. So for me, he put all his eggs at some point in the league. He put all his eggs in the Europa. And had he not pulled it off, I'd be here with you guys going tooth and nail after him and demanding his resignation.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
One last thing.
Why didn't you say any of this all year? Why have you not said this all year?
One last thing, and then I'll answer your question.
Sure.
You say the things that he said, Ange said this, Ange said that. He did. But he also said, I always win in my second season. And we dismissed that. Why do we just pick the bits that... He said a lot of bullshit, but he also said a lot of truth. The reason I dismissed it all year, Sava, and I'll say it for maybe the 1,000,000th time, I never believed this guy could win it. I never believed he had it in him. He proved me wrong. He did have it in him.
Now answer the question that I'm asking. I'm not just talking about the Europa League, right? If we're going to say, when we played in the Europa League, we defended like stallions, we were brilliant. Cool. Why do we go back to the Premier League and play this wide open gung-ho style of football? So if that's the case, what we're saying is we've got a manager that has gone, right, guys, I am going to set you up properly for Europa games. But in the Premier League, I'm going to set you up to be absolutely annihilated week in, week out. If that is the manager that you want me to now say, yeah, I'm on board, I can't do that because still, this is the problem. Faz, it's so funny because do you know what? I see you absolutely go onto Hotspur Hippie's channel every day, cussing the shit out of me and Stel. And now that Stel has said something you agree with, you're in here going, Stel, I love you, Stel. Not about you, Stel. You know who he is. You know he is.
Faz is racist, and I've told you, Faz.
Oh, mate, yeah, I know this guy, right? So for me, guys, listen, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal, right? Someone can be Ange in, someone can be Ange out. It's not the biggest deal. But for me, this is where I'm finding it hard, right? Is because I've agreed with Stel for over a year on this manager. I've agreed with everything Stel has said about him tactically, producing youth or lack of, his management ability, his substitutions, the way he sets up. I've agreed with 100% with what Stel says. Now overnight, I meant to go, hang on, you didn't believe all that. Because what you said, this is the difficulty. Whether he was right or wrong and proved you wrong about winning the Europa League doesn't change, right? Doesn't change. Tommy G in the chat, calm down, mate. Listen, I haven't been... I mean, Dan, do you want to block this guy calling me a bitch, or are we just going to let this crack on, or what? What are we doing here? Right?
I didn't see it. I'll block him.
Right? So, sorry. Again, this is the thing. If you want to see people debate, just don't be rude about them in the chat. It's that simple, right? The end of the day, that Europa League was winnable without being the worst ever Premier League team I've ever seen.
So why did you say that Frankfurt would beat us?
Still, if you actually listen to my words and go back and watch the videos, I found it the other day. I said Frankfurt is a tough game away. It's going to be very tough. I didn't say they would 100% knock us out, right? And it was a tough game.
But then when we beat them, everyone says, oh, easy run.
No, but hang on. Frankfurt are the only team in there for me that I go, tough game. The rest is like, come on, man, right? But listen to what I'm saying. I'm not basing everything like you on a cup run.
Factor that in as part of an easy run. So it wasn't an easy run.
Okay, brilliant. So he beat Frankfurt. Okay, brilliant. He beat Frankfurt. Credit where it's due. But I'm factoring everything, right? I'm factoring in everything. If we have to finish 17th to win that trophy, right? And then I'm meant to just believe that everyone now suddenly thinks this manager who has been... I mean, there are people like Lubo. There are people older. Sorry, no offense, Lubo. I'm not meaning to be rude here. People that have been going a lot longer than me, and I think I'm old, that have turned around and said, this is the worst manager they've ever seen at Tottenham. I think this is the worst manager I've ever seen at Tottenham. And the league for 2 years has not lied to me. The results for 2 years have not lied to me. Right? Hang on.
Last year, the league is more than respectable. The league last year is more than respectable. This year,
yes.
Those first 10 games are part of the season, Sava. Why are we dismissing that now?
But it means now for nearly 2 years still. It means, though, still, from November 2023 till May 2025, which is 20 months.
It's not good enough. I agree, Sava. It's not good enough. I agree with you.
Still,
I don't disagree.
Hang on. I know you don't, but it's not good enough. It's utterly disgusting. Not good enough would have been finishing 10th and winning the Europa League. Finishing 17th with our most ever defeats ever, with our second worst ever goals conceded, with our lowest number of wins, right, and our lowest ever league position.
Who cares, Sava? Why do you care about that if we've won the Europa and we're back in the Champions League? Why are fans making that the thing that they focus on the most? How's about we've got a manager that was in a mess, a lot of it down to his own doing, found a way out, put a trophy in the cabinet and said, do you know what? We are back in the Champions. Do you know what? It's funny. If I said to people 2 years ago...
You're missing the point.
And I get your point. It's the obsession with 17th. It's the obsession with 17th. It means nothing if you qualify for top four. It cancels it out.
For you.
Let me come in here.
Hang on, guys. Hang on. For you, it means nothing still. For me, it means I'm sitting and watching my team lose every week, right? In the grand scheme of things, right? This is how I've been brought up on football.
Yeah, but do you think those 250,000 fans on the parade gave a shit? No, they didn't.
Let me finish, right? For me, right, the way I've been brought up on football, the league tells you over 38 games how good you are as a football team. A cup run tells you you've had a good cup run, right? For me, we should have balanced both. I'm not saying we had to be 4th or 5th or 6th. I even predicted 7th, as you all know. Yeah, you all know I predicted 7th. I could have even turned around and said, you know what? We finished 10th. But to have our worst ever Premier League season, to beat those teams to win a trophy, for me, does not offset how bad this manager is. Now, still, I'm going to factor in the second half of the season before. This isn't one season. When people are going, I can take it for one season. Now, I'm going to use your theory against you, right? What did I say when you said we finished 5th? And what did I say because of the first 10 games? What was your answer to me?
That's part of the season.
Right. So why are the 12 games where we've just won one? Why are they no longer part of the season? Why does it only work for your theory but not for mine?
Because he was focusing on the Europa.
Based on what? I didn't hear you say that once. I have not heard anyone say that until we won
because
it.
I never thought he'd win the Europa. Because do you know what? I'm just repeating myself.
That's two different arguments. But hang on,
I'm repeating myself on every show, every question, every day.
Listen, argument one is you never thought we'd win it. Argument two,
I never thought we'd win anything, Saba. I never thought we'd win anything.
Well, I understand that, but do you understand, lads, that this is two different arguments? Saying you didn't think we'd win it is one.
What's your second argument? What's your point?
The second argument is you're now saying something that you have not said all season or since January, because we work together every week, that he threw it all the way up from January through to May. You've been saying...
No, I never said from January. No, I never said that. I never said that. I never said he threw it from January. I said the moment the relegation
That was me who said that.
Yeah, that was him. I said, Sava, the moment relegation was avoidable, from there on in, he threw it, and we know he threw it because look at the teams he was picking. Look at the team he sent out to play Villa. We all said, "Fuck me, we're getting battered here."
Hang on.
Villa and Palace are fine, but what about all the games before where we weren't putting out those teams and we were playing lesser opposition? We lost to Leicester City. Leicester City.
And that's why I've got big concerns still.
Sure.
I've still got concerns. I'm not. You don't think I think this guy, he's going to turn us into Man City? I don't. I've got concerns.
I don't think that. I don't think that.
I've got. All right. Let me rephrase it. I don't believe that Ange is the Messiah of football. Right. I don't know what he's going to do next season. But I believe there's something about this guy that works at this club. I believe there's something there. Now, I could be wildly out of my fucking mind with this, but my view is this. What I saw him do to win that, for him to say that he's going to win and do it, I believe he deserves the start of the season to prove me wrong again. Now, for most fans, and listen, by the way, 90% of people are totally against what I'm saying, totally don't want to hear it, completely disagree. I am in the minority, I think, of online fans. I do.
So let me use your theory against you. Can I use your theory against you? So if we're saying this manager, this is what I love. For all the fans saying the league doesn't matter, again, this is where I don't think people are actually thinking about.
It does matter, Saba. It does matter, but not when you win the Europa, it doesn't.
Okay, said clubs with no. I mean, we're talking like with Burnley, sure, but
no, we're not. We're talking about a team that qualified for the Champions League.
Hang on. So if by your theory he deserves a start of next season, if he loses his first, if he loses his first 7 of his first 10, right, he should be sacked.
He'll be fired.
No.
He will be fired.
Please let me finish one sentence still, right? If he loses 7 of his first 10, by your theory, he shouldn't be sacked because by then we wouldn't have had the opportunity to win a trophy, which is what it's all about, and it's not about the league. So which one is it? Does the league matter for him to start next season or not? Because by your theory, the earliest he should be sacked, is January. By your theory, the earliest he should be sacked is January.
No, because what I want isn't what the club's going to demand. The club's going to demand a much better league season because, as we've all said on previous shows...
I'm asking about you. I'm asking about your theory, not the club, yours.
For me, I just want trophies. I can take 10th place and the FA Cup. I can take that all day long. For most fans, I don't think they're going to tolerate that. For me, I would take that. So I would wait, until we're at the FA Cup. However, that won't happen. That's an unrealistic thing for me to say. It's not going to happen.
I understand.
No,
so when we're saying
accepting 10th,
he deserves to start the season, what we're saying is he deserves right the way through until January. And if he gets to January and is out the Champions League and the FA Cup, then we cut ties with the man.
But can I be honest with you? That won't happen because if we lose the first 7 games, I can confidently say that the morale in the team will be at a low point. And I don't think many managers can turn that around, losing your first 7 games. I don't think many managers can do that. I don't know any manager that could really do that. Losing your first 7 games, there's no way he'll survive that regardless. So it doesn't matter.
I understand. I was just going by not just you. This is not just you. Many people say to me, give him the transfer budget, which I think is crazy. Give him the transfer budget. Let him start next season, right? Now, I've said this to everyone. I know lots of people don't actually think about the ins and outs and the runnings of a football club. As fans, if we take a step back from our emotion of winning trophies, right? Now let's look at this sensibly. So we give Ange, I don't know, 150 million. I'm just making that up, roughly 150 million this summer, right? So we give Ange 150 million pounds. Then he starts the first 10 games. Spurs start terribly. We now need a new manager. We're now in Man United and Ruben Amorim territory. And what I mean by that is you're now in a position where the pool of managers that you can get in the middle of a season, right, is tiny compared to the pool of managers you can get, i.e. right now. Because those clubs don't want to let managers go. They won't, you know, you've got to pay to get them out mid-season when you've spent your transfer budget, yada, 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 yada. Now, that new manager comes in, hasn't got his own players, boom, 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 right? So, by that theory, we're literally saying, if this manager starts badly next year, then next year's written off as well. That's the worry for me. You get
what if he
right?
doesn't? What if he doesn't?
Sure. Of course, there's, you know, we can flip a coin, but this is a manager who has struggled this year with Bodo Glimt, Alkmaar, Frankfurt, for example, and had to lay off the league to win that. And we're now going to be going into Champions League games midweek where you're going to have to put out your best 11 again. And we're saying suddenly he's going to cope with this. Suddenly his tactics are going to cope with these games. We've got 2 years of evidence to show us that's not the case. And this is why when people say, this is why when people say to me, I'll take a cup, right? Next year, we're not winning the Champions League and the league, right? I'll take a cup and 10th. Fine. To win the League Cup or FA Cup, the odds will tell you you've got to beat the better teams. Newcastle this year beat Brentford, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool to win the League Cup. Palace beat Aston Villa and Man City. And just shown time and time and time again, he struggles with these teams. So this whole notion of this guy could just get us over the line again, that's like me saying, well, Poch got a second. Why didn't he get a second every year? He can get a second every year. It's madness.
He won't do anything again unless we sign experienced players, because all those teams you mentioned that Newcastle played have all got better midfield than us. All of those teams.
Sure, I agree with that. Listen, I think we can meet in the middle here. Let's meet in the middle, right? You want him. I don't. At the end of the day, he won us a trophy.
I want him to start. He's got to prove it to me still. I'm not entirely convinced, because people think I want him to stay forever.
Guys, great debate. Everybody's enjoyed it. Really, really good stuff. But let's get back to the plan. I've got some super chats to read out. So just bear with us. So big up, Tony. Thank you for the super chat. If you're still Ange in, football is not for you. I hope this helps. When Ange is gone, the Aussies are gone.
It's a stupid comment. Yeah, this is part of the problem we've got. If you've got an opinion, you don't have a clue. You're thick. You're dumb. You're stupid.
Yeah,
this is where we're at.
I think we must all try.
Tony's a good guy, by the way. Yeah. Tony's a top bloke. But Tony, you're getting sucked into this as well.
I think it's important.
Just say Ange out. He's got to go. Just say that.
Yeah, I just think it's important that we all do listen to each other's opinions and hear them out. If you don't agree with them, you don't agree with them. Debate them and then move on. Yeah.
Big up, Tony. By the way.
Yeah, big
up. He's a good
Tony.
guy. I like Tony. He's cool.
Dan, can I sort of do like a bottom line with where I'm at on this?
Yeah, let me get through the super chats.
Sorry.
Luba wants to give you the boardroom analysis.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Just bear with us. I want to get through these super chats. Faz 4-1-199. Statistically, with the back five starting all week, being second. Okay. And Andrew Nugget, Sava is holding court. He's trying to keep his subjects in line. Okay, I don't think he's trying to do that. He's just speaking his opinion. But thank you guys for your.
Do you know what, anyway. Guys? If that's the case,
I think he's bantering. I think that guy was bantering. Sure. I think he's bantering.
Yeah. But if that's the case, I'm seeing loads of people in the chat. They want debates. They want to watch YouTube channels with people with different opinions. Or would you like me and Stel to just turn around and go, Stel, you think that? Oh, I 100% agree. Back to you, Dan. Is that what people really want? Surely you want the debates, right? Isn't that why everyone tuned in?
I think they do. Yeah. Yeah, as long as it's respectful, and I think it has been this debate. I don't think anybody's gone out of line. So look, let's get back to the thing. Ian, you were going to say something, and then
I think. Listen, I've been to 3/4 of the games this season. It's been a horrible season, and it ended a fantastic season. It's typical Spursy. I don't think any other club could have played the way we did in the league and then go and win a European competition. I think, we are, Tottenham Hotspur are unique. How I would sum it up is that thank God you can't define our season by 17th because we won a European trophy and we're in the Champions League. But I think what's the next thing on from that, say, great, okay, I'm not happy. Everybody knows I'm really not happy that we lost 22 games. But we won a European trophy, and I've been banging on that we don't win trophies, and football's about memories and moments. And I had 2 fantastic days on the Wednesday in the match and on Friday at the parade. So there's a balance, one balances out the other in terms of the bottom line. But the next step is, where do we go from here? And that's where the question is Ange the guy or not? Mm-hmm. So if you break the last 2 seasons, half and half, so you got 4 halves in effect. We've gone from 36 points from 19 to 30 to 24 to 14. So for me, I had my rants on here about Levy, and I always say, this is Tottenham Hotspur we're talking about. This is a great club. So for me, I cannot accept a manager who is incapable of running 2 competitions side by side. For me, there is no excuse. I understand why he did it. He took a massive risk, and yes, he was rotating, and it cost us league points, and it came off for him. But if this is where he's at, if this is his capability,
exactly,
then when I look at Eddie Howe, won a trophy but finished 5th. Maresca, who every Chelsea fan I've spoken to can't stand, he finished 4th and got a trophy. And okay, his trophy, let's be fair, was easier. It was easier for Chelsea to win than it was with us. Yet he won that with a reserve team as well. So that shows you how poor the Conference League was. And that's not diminishing Chelsea's, before anybody jumps on, but Chelsea's achievement, because they won the trophy. So full marks to them.
Also, Ian, one thing quick, mate.
Sure.
When it comes to that Europa Cup as well, let's just be honest. It's harder this season. It was harder to win the League Cup than the bloody Europa Cup, for God's sake.
It was.
And if we're going to be totally honest with it, the fact that Spurs were the favourites anyway, and the fact that the 16th and 17th placed teams in the Premier League was in the Europa final says a lot to me.
We were the favourites because we came 5th last year, guys.
Yeah. I think the other thing also is that the name as well, still, because as the league form went down and down, I think there was one point Bilbao or United were favourites towards the end, and then Bilbao went out. And I think United were marginally favourites for the final, weren't they? But it's all irrelevant. It's just betting and that speculation and what have you. But for me, I think the reason, just to sort of clarify, the reason I want Ange to go is that I think Ange is very good up to a certain level. I think he raised his ceiling from Scottish League to Europa League. And he could be proud of that. But I think when you look at the teams that we beat, maybe Frankfurt will be the only one that will get into the top 10 of the Premier League. And our record against the Premier League this season was 1-4, drew 2, lost 14. So he's great up to the level of lower level Premier League, and he can look up, he can do well at that level. But when you go over that level and you go into top half Premier League. He doesn't cut it. And I think let's be honest about the first season. The first 10 games, he was very innovative, which was great.
Lucky.
I loved it. We all loved it. All of us loved it. Let's be honest. We're sitting there with 10 points when 26 points from 10 games. Everybody's thinking, blimey, this is the record. We've even beat Mourinho's 23 points from the first 10. But from then on in, the rest of the Premier League sussed out how we play, and our results after that went down and down and down. And Ange didn't react to that. He just kept playing the same way. So there are so many things. It's great he got us over the line. We shithoused our way to a cup final. It doesn't matter how you do it. We did it. It doesn't matter we had one shot in 100 minutes. It doesn't matter we had 112 passes in 100 minutes. We got there. And that's the most important thing. I'd much rather that than have 540 odd passes like United did and come away with nothing.
The thing with it all as well, Ian, is when it comes down to the crunch, I know people got different, whatever turns you on at the end of the day, each their own, yeah? And if someone's going to be sitting here, or people out there who say it's all about winning cups and that, yeah? It should be about that. But I'm sorry, football's not about that anymore. Football's business. If you actually want your football club to become big and stay big, you have to be getting in that Champions League priority. And if you're good enough, then the cups come with it. I want more cups. I want us to win things.
Absolutely.
But if we go and finish 10th, 11th and 12th for the next 3 seasons and win 2 League Cups and an FA Cup, or we go and finish 4th for the next 3 seasons, which one can take us further as a club?
Dan,
the sad
if what
thing
you say,
is, when it comes to the crunch,
if what you say is true, why did everyone turn against Conte?
It's an interesting question. It's a
the
good
If
sad
that's
thing
true,
is, when it comes to,
why
I
did everyone
didn't
turn
say
against
anything was
Conte?
true. I asked a question. I didn't say nothing.
I'm
Was
saying
true.
if what you're saying is true, has validity,
Right.
then why did all the fan base turn
I'm
against
asking-
Conte? That's 4th and 4th.
I'm asking, what does bigger for a football club these days? Yes, we want the cups and that. That's all good. But the end of it, like it or lump it, this one's a fact. Finishing 4th for 3 years, if your club does it smartly with the money and that, will get you further than finishing 10th for 3 years on the trot and getting 3 FA Cups on the trot. Players are more likely going to come to your club because you are in the Champions League and finish top 4, not because you've just won 3 FA Cups. You're going to have more money to spend in the Champions League. You're going to have better option of managers, better option of players, able to pay more wages. Whether Levy does it or not is not the question I'm saying. The fact that is, at the end of the day, the Champions League is the most important bit. It shouldn't be like that. But that's what business and money has done to football.
Yeah, you're talking as like a club, which I get. But this is where I will agree with Stal. As a fan, you want to win trophies.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
but then Nige,
you want to finish as high as you can in the league, but also win trophies at the same time.
You guys,
if you're happy with 10th and winning a League Cup over 3 or 4 seasons, then I don't want to hear a word out of you ever about us buying an Odegaard or an Archie Gray and we can't.
I agree. I agree. If you want to finish 10, you want Tell. If you want to finish 10, you want Tells, you want Odegaard. Yep.
I don't want to hear a word out of any of you lot. I don't want to hear a word out of any of you lot because Ange got a trophy and Champions League. He did both. Thank you very much.
Credit,
so
can credit for it.
Can I come on to your
he's
point?
Not good enough to now.
He's done both, man. The guy done both.
Right.
Can I come on to your point, Dan?
Let me finish one point here then quickly. Yeah. Right. First season. Those first 10 games covered his ass. I said at the start of this season, yeah, you're going to see really how bad this fella is in the league because he ain't going to have the first 10 games to cover his ass. Bang, lo and behold. But he squirms his way out of it in another way. Next year, he's not going to have the little tier 2 Europa Cup to cover his ass and scrape his way into the Champions League. Right. He's going to have to finish into the top 5 or top 4 even. And he's also going to be playing Champions League games as well on that, yeah? I don't think he's got the capability to do that. So that is where I now want to progress. Say thank you very much, Ange, but you've definitely proved you can't do it in the league and that. Well done on getting the cup. There's your extra money. Now we need a better manager who can handle it. That is how I see it with him.
I tell you the
He's
big
not going to have that Europa to save him. Sorry, Sad,
hang on,
Dan,
very quickly, Sad. The problem here, sorry, Sad, the problem here, Dan, what you're saying in terms of where football is today, football is about money. The fans are way down the list of priorities.
Mm-hmm.
The problem we've got at our club, and I'm sorry, I'm going to come back to it. Yes, you're right. You would think with normal owners, you get better players, you go in the Champions League, it brings more money, it brings more prestige. Yes, and with the better players in the higher league position, it should mean more trophies. But it hasn't with Tottenham. And Poch was living proof that he didn't get the backing when we were there to go on and do exactly what you're describing.
Yeah,
This is a club like no other. This is a club
that's
like
irrelevant.
no other.
That's not the point I was asking. I was talking about any club, not Spurs. Any club. What? Go on,
Normally, yes, I agree, but this club is different, Dan.
Hang on. But Lubo. Let's see if we can do this without the words Daniel or Levy, right, parting anyone's mouth. Let's just see if we can do it, right? I completely agree. And this is where I agree with you lot. And this is where, I don't blame Levy for everything, but I don't want him at the club. And this is where I get annoyed at Levy. For the very things... Sorry, any chance you can shut this door, please? Sorry, the dog's barking. If Daniel Levy... Sorry, I thought I was on mute when I said that. So sorry, everyone. I didn't realise. If Daniel Levy... Right, I want him gone because of things like we're seeing right now. Right? Things like we're seeing right now that you've got Champions League and you're thinking, right, strike, show the world, go and get on Buemo, do that. And you're just watching teams like Man United going through and through and through. I think what Dan's trying to say, and if I paraphrase, and Dan will tell me if I'm wrong, is that in general, in football terms, right, and if there is a change of ownership as well, the clubs that finish in the top 4 or 5 are the regular trophy winners. So what we've seen this year is the anomaly, right? And I brought this, Lubo, I showed you, I brought this up from the last 120 winners, right? So for anyone who didn't see this, Nige, Dan, not sure if you did or still saw it, from the last 120 winners, and that is the last 30 winners of the Europa League, the Champions League, the League Cup and the FA Cup, only 10 of those 120 winners finished in the bottom half of their table. 3 of those, by the way, were Tottenham Hotspur. Just so you're aware, 3 of those were Tottenham Hotspur. So what we've actually seen with that, and by the way, that's not groundbreaking news. Better teams win trophies, right? That's not groundbreaking news. But the point of why I brought that data up was the anomaly is finishing in the bottom half and winning a trophy. So when we're saying, I'd happily take bottom half and the trophy, sure, but it's an anomaly every year across every league. Not Premier League, every league. It's an anomaly across Europe. So the likelihood is that if you do get better and go up the table, the likelihood is that you've got better players because you're higher up the table, and the likelihood is that you win trophies. Now, I get what you're saying, Lubo. We've never really done this with Daniel Levy kicked on, but in the last 20 seasons, we have finished in the top 6 about 16 times. So we can't just sit here and go, we're always down the bottom and we don't ever have any good players. That's not true either. So for me, I get it. I want more trophies. And I hate that every time I talk about being higher up the league, people automatically put 2 and 2 together and go, Sava cares more about league than trophies. No. But what I'm saying is Tottenham are not going to win trophies every year. Guys, I'm sorry to break that news to anyone that thinks we are now because we've won one. We're not going to win trophies every year. No football club wins trophies every year, right? Look at Man City this year. And Man City are there, right?
So we've won trophies 10 seasons out of the last 65.
I understand that. So my point is this. So when people are advocating going, oh, but you don't get anything for finishing 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Sure. But if you are going higher at that table, Have any of you ever thought about the effect it has on the footballers that we're going out and speaking to? Right? So when this year, we might get away with it because it was Champions League qualification from winning this trophy.
Yeah.
But next year, just a hypothetical, guys, imagine we do finish 15th and we win the FA Cup. For the fans, what an amazing day out, right? 15th, won the FA Cup, boom, 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 Wembley, yeah, we're champions. Arsenal, you're shit, you didn't win anything, banter, banter, banter. We're the best team in North London. Now, let's look at this logically because we're all grown-ups here. Now, have a look at by not qualifying for that Champions League or for the Europa League, you're now something between 30 and 100 million pounds down, right? That now, whatever we think does affect the wages you can pay. That does affect manager clauses you can buy out. That does affect free transfer sign-on bonuses. That does affect the players' transfer fees, right? All of those things are affected. So if I'm not wrong, Dan, what Dan's saying is we could win the FA Cup for 3 years in a row. The problem you've got off the back of that is the club's not actually then generating the revenue it would if you get in the Champions League. So when we're going to players and we're going, hey, join us. Don't join Newcastle who have just finished top 4. Join Spurs. They're going to go, well, hang on. They finished in the top 4. They can pay me 250, 300 grand a week. You finished 15th in the league and won 6 games to win an FA Cup. Players, here's my end point. Sorry, it took a long time to get there. Right, I hope this makes sense. Players don't think like we think. Players don't go, oh, they won an FA Cup. Players are going to look and go, where have they been finishing the last 3-4 years? How close are they to challenging the teams at the top? What top players are they buying? That's the difference between fans and footballers, right? Speak to pro footballers, they'll tell you. They're not looking at Palace going, Palace won an FA Cup. Oh, we'll sign for them above Man United, who didn't win anything. They're going to Man United, right? That's the difference between our heart, our emotion, and the way that football is now run. There's a huge disparity.
People still look on it the way it should be looked at. And the way it should be looked at is it's all about winning the cups and whatever and that. But it's not. Football is not even a sport anymore. It is a business. Whether people like to accept it or not, it is what it is. You're not going to change that. And it is all about the money. And simple as. A bigger player is going to come to you because you've finished in the Champions League for the past 3 seasons. Or is he going to sit there and look and say, they finished 10th, 11th and 10th.
And nicked a League Cup.
But that's 3 FA Cups on the trot. I'm going to go, they don't give a fuck about the FA Cup.
Right.
They want Champions League.
I've got to say,
Dan,
still,
can I reply to all of this? Because
I must say, so I'm with you in terms of watching trophies and those nights, those memories and those. Seriously, I'm with you on that. Unfortunately, and I hate it because I'm old school. I hate it.
I don't agree with it, but
I hate
I don't
it.
agree with it either, Lubo.
No,
I don't agree
hate
with
the
it.
fact. I hate the fact that money was taken over.
I'm sorry. Anyone who thinks Spurs finishing back-to-back top 4, extra money coming in, whatnot, is how we're going to attract better players, I'm sorry. You've been supporting a different club to me. Nothing at this club changes, regardless how many times we get into top 4, until the owners change their ways. Everything comes back to me.
How did I start my rant?
I didn't interrupt you. Let me say my
I know, but how did I start my rant? I said that. I did say that.
Yeah, but so therefore, it doesn't matter where we finish. It means nothing. The business of Tottenham means nothing, because this is the facts. We could finish top 4 for the next 10 years. If the owners don't want to invest that money into elite players, it means nothing. Why players will come to Spurs is one reason and one reason only. Man City attracted top players. They won in the Champions League, right? The way you do it is two ways. One, you break the wage structure, which is all down to the owners. No one else makes that decision. Number two, you show ambition to those players and you say to them, come here because our sole aim is to win the Champions League, is to win the Premier League. And we're going to do it by not just signing you, but look at all these other top players we're going to sign. You come and play with them. Right. So it's not about
disagree.
money. It's not about business. It's not about top four.
But you've got to
It's
have the
about
money
the
to buy those
ambition.
top players.
Seba, no. We need an ambitious ownership that portrays that desire and that shows it by the transfers and the wages. Until they change, Seba, we can put 500 million in the bank. Nothing changes.
I agree. Stel, I agree. But still, if you watch any of the finance football experts, they're going to tell you that clubs still need Champions League revenue coming in yearly to be able to offer
The league
wages.
is your bread and butter, basically.
This is
Only if your owners are ambitious. Only if your owners are ambitious is it bread and butter.
Still, you've got to listen. This is what I'm saying. You've got to listen.
I am
so
listening to
hot
you.
up on Levy. As I said,
No, because it's all about him, Sava. He's the problem. The Enoch are the problem. Everything goes back to them. You don't want to go there as much, but that's the truth, man. He's the way.
The Levy just won us a Europa Cup.
Hang on.
Yeah, but you want Champions League
route.
money. You want the business. You want the business.
I understand, right? I understand that. But still, you still have to, as a club, if we're going to talk about this club being sold, touch wood, and it does get sold and new owners come in, whether it's now 2027, 2029, those new owners will want to come in off the back of years of revenue from Champions League to show that the revenue is coming into the club. If you just keep finishing 15th, but hang on, but of course it's business sense.
No, it's business sense to buy a club that is cheap. They'd rather go buy Chelsea for 100 million than Spurs for 3 billion.
It's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about. It's not what I'm talking about.
But that's what you look for. You look for the purchase price.
It's not what I'm talking about. Still, listen.
But you're flawed in what you're saying, Sabra. It's flawed to say they just want cash flow. I am listening. I disagree with it. It's not about cash flow.
It's not what I said. Right? It's not what I said. Every finance football expert at the end of every year sits down and they all have those podcasts where they're going, why does Aston Villa need Champions League? Because of this, and this going out and that going out. Why does United need it? This. Why does Chelsea need it? This? It's the same for Tottenham Hotspur, right? And the problem you've got is if you are condoning 3 years in a row where you go, we've won 3 FA Cups, but no Champions League finishes, right? The revenue difference between those 3 seasons is nearly £300 million. It's massive to any football club. Now, I'm not a finance guy.
400 million without Champions League under Ange. We spent 400 million.
I understand that. And most of that is through player sales going in. If you want people to be able to chuck in more money that's made on top of that as prize money and revenue, it's basic math and business sense. You've got to be competing at the top level to bring in revenue. We're not
competing, Sava, because we don't change the way we behave with the money. I get what you're saying. You're saying, but it doesn't matter if they change if they haven't got the money. What I'm saying is, who cares about the money if the owners are just going to sit on it? What does it matter?
Hang on a sec. I think I get where you're coming from.
What does it matter?
Just let me, Still, I think I get where you're actually coming from. You're basically saying that you're basically agreeing with us in what we're saying is right. But the fact that Daniel Levy's there, why even give a toss about it? Just go for the bloody cup. Because
Enoch and Levy, yes. Until they change their ways, yes.
Now, right. I see where you're coming from, yeah? The point I was making was just overall. Forget Levy, whatever else, this and that, yeah? Finishing top 4 for 3-4 years on the trot will get you further than winning.
No, Dan, you can't forget Levy. You can't just say, I forget Levy. That is the issue.
I'm talking about clubs in general. I'm talking about...
Forget them. We're talking about Tottenham.
If a new owner comes in, comes in tomorrow, let's say we wake up tomorrow, we've got a new owner still. Are you still condoning 3 15th place finishes as long as we win the FA Cup for those 3 years?
Sava, I couldn't give a shit if the new owner comes in and what he does. I want him to change, but the situation of the club means nothing. If the owner's going to buy, the owner's going to buy. It's up to them.
I get your point.
What he's saying is, what he's saying, what Sav's saying is that if a new owner comes in,
yes,
and they change, they are committed to the club. They say, right, like Chelsea, we are going to invest X amount into the club, into the football club, right, and right the way down and the majority
Yes,
of it
then I agree with Sava. Yes, I get it. Then I agree with Sava. Yes,
is going into the first team.
So let's meet in the
then
middle.
I agree with Sava. Yes, if the ownership, whoever it is, Enoch, new owner, changes their behaviour, then you're right. But unfortunately, that's not where we're at now, is it?
I completely understand that. I completely understand that. But what I'm saying is, at any point, still, again, we can meet in the middle, right? Let's meet in the middle. I completely agree with you. But at any point,
both right, to be honest, they're both right in what you're saying. You just come,
guys. Don't you think?
I need to go. Just quickly, because it's one point before I go, because I've got my own show. And listen, thanks for having me, guys. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The last point I'll make is this: at any point, right? At any point, a club can be sold and a sale goes through. So what I don't ever want to do is we're sitting 12th, 13th in the club. A new owner comes in and we go, oh shit, I wish we weren't 12th or 13th. I wish we'd given it a go in the league. I wish we were higher up. Because there were years where we did finish top 4 and we were in finals, but messed up the finals. So it could have been very different. Listen, guys, I hope tonight has shown that everyone can have debates without swearing at each other, without being rude. I just wish that everyone in the chat would follow suit. It's like everyone needs to pick a side and be awful to the other person. It's just absolutely mad. Guys,
I think you're all scumbags, all of you. I'm just scumbags.
Oh, mate.
Cheers, Safa, for coming on, mate. Thank you so much.
Big up.
We'll redirect.
It's all love, man. It's all football love, everyone. It's all football.
Bye.
Cheers, Sav.
Can I ask one question to the panel on this? Just one question.
Yeah.
Do you think a new ownership would rather buy a club that is undervalued or an expensive club that's got good cash flow? Because for me, the way we're going now is either we sell for 3 or 4 billion with really positive cash flow, or Spurs aren't actually doing that great. We're doing all right, but you can buy them for, let's say, hypothetically, cash flow is not great, but the value of the club's 2.5 billion. What would an investor rather do in your eyes? I think they'd go for a lower price valuation.
I do agree.
No, not necessarily. I think you've got to look at the bigger picture as such. Now, this is why I say Spurs are a sleeping giant out there. We might cost an arm and a leg to buy as such, yeah? But once we're bought, if we've got someone who wants to win, he only, and I do mean only, has to pay for players and wages, basically. He's got all the other income sitting there. He doesn't even have to go looking for people to do events at the place and whatever. People come to us for it because we got the best place for it. The stadium's built. Everything is.
But Dan, where are they? Where are these buyers?
I'm just explaining on what I think the other side of it, basically. Yeah. Whereas you look at someone goes and buys, say, Man United overall, buys the whole thing. Let's say 5 billion. Just a number. Right. Now you can go and spend another 3 billion, 4 billion because you need a new stadium and you need new training facilities and you need this. People buying Chelsea. Chelsea can only survive so long. They have to have their youth players to sell or get in the Champions League regular. They can't support themselves. So if you look on it on other sides, buying Spurs in one big lump is a costly thing. But the money it can save you compared to practically, I'd say, a majority of the rest of the Premier League would actually be quite surprising. Because how many teams now out there are at that point where they literally need to start building a new stadium?
A lot.
And if we was to build our stadium again now, you'd be looking at anything from 2.5 to 3 billion. We built that and we managed to get that at the right point before everything went crazy after COVID and that. So anyone who buys a club now and wants to make that club something and wants to also get money to spend, they're still building. They've still got to pay for stadiums as well. They've still got to pay for this and that and keep everything up to date. We're all there on the plate. You basically buy the package and you get everything.
The one thing he's done, Levy, that I take my hats off to, is that we are the best turnkey operation for purchasing in the Premier League. It's all done. Training ground's done. Got a hotel there. Football club's done. When they get investments, they've got to get the hotel built because that is part of the contract for Spurs hosting Euro 2028. And what they're going to do with the hotel in that area afterwards, God only knows, unless they totally regenerate Tottenham, North Tottenham in a massive, massive way. That hotel could be a white elephant, but hopefully not. It's a great club to buy still, because the potential there is fantastic. And you know, they could buy it for, say, just simplify it, just say 3 billion. They could turn 3 into 4 or 5, because they're businessmen. You know, they're not going to spend 3 billion and want 3 billion back. They're going to want, you know, make a profit.
Yes, but Lubo, would you rather do what Levy did and ENIC, invest £100 million to buy Spurs and cash out at 3 billion, which is basically a 30x, or buy a club for 3 billion?
Still. Yeah. It's 12 times. It's 12
if you've got 20 years of, if you've got 25 years of patience as well,
right? So a 12x, right? A 12x.
Yeah.
Or would you rather buy a club for 3 billion and double your money? Surely that 3 billion can be put into far better investments that guarantee a 10% return, the S&P 500, and you don't have to do any work. Why would you buy a club for 3 billion when you can invest the same money, get a bigger return, and not even go to work? Why would you do it? For me, for someone to buy Tottenham, the price we're at is why we can't sell the club, or why we're struggling to bring in investors. I think we're overvalued. I think it's just Lubo, if you had £3 billion and I said to you, put it into the S&P 500, get £300 million a year banked, don't do any work, would you do that? Would you go and buy a football club for 3 billion where you're going to be under pressure every day to deliver for shareholders, dealing with transfers, the headaches of fans protesting if they're not happy, dealing with player wages?
I'm the wrong person to ask.
You'd love it, right? Because you're a Spurs fan.
I would love it. I would love it. And I'm not ready for retirement. So if I wanted to be retired, then yes, of course, you stick your money in guaranteed and take a guaranteed profit and you live off it. Thank you very much. But if you've still got a fire in you and you want to take on a challenge, then why not do it? You know, someone who's got 3 billion still hasn't got net assets of 3.5 billion. He's probably got net assets of 30 billion or 40 billion or whatever. So, you know, this is going to be a smaller percentage, you know, for these guys. You know, it's like City, it's like Newcastle. You know, they've got money. You know, so they're coming in.
Hold on, Lubo, 1 minute. Hold on. How much did they pay? 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Hold on. Lubo, 1 minute. How much did they pay to buy Newcastle?
That's different. But Chelsea paid 2.5.
No. How much? How much did they pay to buy Newcastle?
Chelsea paid 2.5 billion. Newcastle paid 330 million. Chelsea paid 2.5 billion.
Hold on 1 minute. Right, 330 million. How much did they pay to buy Man City?
I don't know. That I don't know.
Peanuts.
But still, that was 17.
These big owners, these big owners came in and bought cheap, like Levy. When Levy came in, because see what Levy did that was clever is when he bought the club, he said ENIC were looking for an opportunity in a market that hadn't blown up yet, and they said through the entertainment aspect and the growth of the global entertainment and media of football, they saw Spurs as an undervalued asset. And what happened after they bought it? Premier League's global. We're all over the world in terms of fan base. So he saw the market about to explode. Now, how much more can football really grow? For me, the only way you buy Tottenham, and genuinely grow it, so it makes sense, is you turn it into a franchise. The Hotspur Hurricanes NFL team, the Tottenham Tornado ice hockey team, the Spurs cricket club. That's the only way you can really get the big returns now in football. If you buy at a high price, you've got to turn Spurs into a sports franchise, and maybe that's where football's going to go. Maybe that's where sports is going to go.
It's where a lot of it does go, but You buy whoever goes and buys Spurs. Like I said,
Kiss goodbye to football when that happens. By the way,
it's a massive lump of money up front, but in the long run, you're going to make so much more money. I mean, look at Newcastle. Right, just an honest opinion here. Newcastle, it was cheap for a reason, yeah. Other thing is they've got to basically rebuild that stadium. They're talking about doing because like a lot of the other stadiums, rebuild it, new one, whatever way you want to put it. So there's another 3 billion straight on there. And the other problem they're going to have with a place like Newcastle is unless Newcastle gets in that Champions League on a regular basis, they are never in a million years going to be able to make the money that Spurs can, even if we don't get in the bloody Champions League. Why? Because the further up north you go, the poorer the revenue gets. It sounds harsh, but it's fact. Where is the money? London. London is the place that supports England and Scotland. Yeah. Up north doesn't make the money for the country.
I must tell you,
everywhere you get further up north, the ticket prices go down and everything. Yeah, they got their rich little bit out there you can live, but in general, the revenue is in London. Why do you think Man U and that can't even charge the ticket prices that Fulham can?
Man United make more money than us, Dan. Man United make more money.
Yeah, because they're the biggest club in the world.
Yeah, so maybe they're going to turn Newcastle into something like that.
I think match receipts they make more as well. But they're
it's going to take a hell of a. It's going to take a hell of a lot to do it. Being in London is where the money is.
Yeah.
Being in London is where the money is, and easy to make when it comes to it in that aspect. You can take.
There's richer fans in London. I agree. Fulham have got the first richest fan base. Then it's Tottenham second, with the second richest fan base, apparently, if you believe that.
But you go and buy Spurs for 3 billion. You've got your stadium there. You've already got regular income from the stadium and everything. You've already got everything sorted. People coming to us for events there, left, right, and centre. All the training facilities are done. Everything is done. That's all they got to focus on is the pitch, basically.
Does anyone believe it's going to actually happen, though? And when?
Yes, I do.
When?
I do believe it'll happen.
I think Levy's a stumbling block. I don't think he'll sell the club unless he's allowed to stay on as chairman. I think he is the stumbling block.
Joe Lewis has just put his guy on the board. He's just put his man on the board.
And also, if Levy don't want to sell his what is it he's got? 30%, 28%?
Yeah, 29.8, I think it is.
Okay, so let's say Levy's got 30%, yeah? Okay, yeah. Levy. Right, I want to buy the club, so I'm going to go to Lewis and Levy. Lewis says to me, yep, you can have my 70%. Levy says no. Okay. Get out of my way then, you little prick. There you go. There's the 70%. Right, okay, you still own 30%. Shut up and sit in the corner. You ain't the chairman anymore because I own this place more now.
Won't happen. Won't happen.
That is how it would work. Levy can't say no to that.
I've been told there's an agreement. They won't sell separately.
Right. Well, that bit I didn't know, yeah. But I was saying if Lewis sold his major part of it, then they have to say on who the chairman is. Levy might still be able to sit at a table, but they'd be able to sack him and do what they want with him. Now, if it's what you're saying, where they got a deal on that, I don't know about the deals behind the lines.
Yeah, I was told that a few months ago.
Any more comments on the finances side of things? Anybody want to add anything, or we'll move?
Yeah, one thing. I hate this conversation. I hate
no interest.
I hate talking about the finances of football. And do you know why? Do you know what I hate about it, guys? You know, when I was a kid, I'm sure it's the same for you guys. I can't remember if it was my granddad, my dad, uncle, someone. I was in the garden and they said, they put a ball in front of me and they said, kick it. And I toe punted it. Didn't know what I was doing. And everyone went, yeah, well done. And then one day you kick it into the net and everyone's cheering. You go to school, it turns out there's other kids doing the same thing. Before you know it, you're playing football, 30 aside, no rules, jumpers for goals. Then you get to your teenage years, you're playing for a local football team. Maybe you're good enough to get scouted for county. Then you play for for university. Then you join your local team. You're going power. We fell in love with the game before Tottenham. The fact we support Spurs is to channel our love for the game, right? We love football before Tottenham. It just happens Tottenham is where we express it. And all we do now, wages this, transfer that, money this, Levy salary, value, Mate, that's not how we fell in love with football. It's not. And I despise the fact this is where we're at. I know we can't ignore it because it is now. This is, Dan's right. It's a business.
It is what it is.
Right?
It's
but
horrible.
I despise that. And do you know what? And do you know what, guys? And maybe this is maybe this is why I see it a bit different. Bilbao was never about money. The game, the atmosphere, the fans, the parade, none of it at once did anyone speak about money, finances. And I thought, this is what it's about. And here we are again.
And that's what we want to know more, isn't it?
Money. So I don't want it, guys. I don't want it. I don't care about top 4 income. Because you know what? We can get top 4 every year and everyone say, you know what, we're doing well. I'm so happy. Brilliant. This is the way you grow the business. This is the way you grow the club. This is, you know what? I don't feel anything, man. Give me that day in Bilbao, a day at Wembley where we beat anyone in a final. Mate, that is where you get me hooked in.
But I think we need it more, Stel.
I understand that.
This is the problem.
I understand that still, and you're right. And that's how it should be. But the fact of it is, you've got to have both. You've got to be up there getting in Champions League regular. I mean, we don't even need Champions League money to survive. We are one of the only clubs on this planet now that can actually run itself on its own bloody revenue without needing to even sell a player or even get into the Champions League or anything like that. But to progress and then to have the excess money to spend on top of it and everything else to get the better players and everything, we need to get in that. We need to be in the Champions League on a regular basis. The FA Cup's ain't going to get you that.
I just think if fans want, if it is sad, it is, and if fans want,
it's not that I like it or want it like that, but
it's what it is. I know, but if fans want both, right? And I know people hate this; they fucking hate it. But if fans want both to be successful and keep that money coming in, then you've got to put pressure on the owners because they are the only ones that will make the decision to allow that to happen at this club. They're the only ones that will make what is needed happen. If we want both, it's just it. There, I'll leave it there.
Okay, right. So obviously,
can I just say quickly? I just want to get a word in. Can I just say? Danny Blanchflower once said the game is about glory. And for me, that's why I started supporting Spurs. It's about glory. But it's just about money now. That's why I hate finances in every way. I just want to watch my team win things. And yes, I want to finish higher up in the table. Definitely don't want to be finishing 15th, 17th and winning trophies. But it'd be nice to finish 6th or 7th like we used to and win trophies.
I'll be perfectly fine with that because then we can still progress with that. It's just the sad thing is whether people like it or not, football is a business. It's not, sport isn't even a sport anymore. Sport is a business itself. Every sport is. And the money side of it is that important because otherwise you just don't, you're not going to progress. I mean, again, look at Newcastle. I mean, what is it? Their owner, he's like a trillionaire or something. Is he? Like, they are literally the richest owner in the world.
Worth 90 billion, Dan.
More than that, I think, from what I heard. But either way, yeah, that's still plenty of money, and they still ain't got a pot to piss in because they ain't getting the regular revenue in, so that they can start spending their money. And that's where you need to start getting Champions League and everything. And plus, they don't have the income that we have off of the football as such, with the events and all that sort of stuff. Again, whoever takes over at Spurs, everything is there waiting, as all they'd have to do is focus on football. You'd have someone who takes over at Spurs would have to be someone who's got a lot of money in their back pocket and also want to win things, because that would be the ideal reason of taking it over. And there will be a regular income there for a very long time as well with that stadium.
Do you know what's messed up? When I first started coaching, right, and one of the things we do is we deliberately let the players have a break so we can stand back and observe who communicates with who sits by themselves to have a drink, who's the joker in the pack. You try and identify personalities by just standing back and observing. And when I first started coaching, the conversations I'd hear were like this. yeah, man, we got Thierry Henry. Just you wait and see Thierry Henry. He's the best striker in the league. He's going to win the league. And then you have another player go, yeah, but we've got Gareth Bale. He's the best left-footed. Thierry Henry's not as good as Bale with the left foot. These were the kind of conversations I heard. Before I called it a day, these are the conversations I heard. Yeah, but we've got a war chest of 120 million, right? And with that 120 million, we're going to be able to increase the wages. Yeah, but we spend more on players than you. And what the fuck are the kids talking about? What are you talking about? You used to argue over players. Now you're arguing over who's the richer club. Mate, they're brainwashed. And when they get to 18, 21, 25, they will be okay paying £200 a match ticket when it gets there, because they've been day one money.
And still, another difference is as well. Kids used to be out playing football and doing stuff, whatever, and that. Even down to the point when I was a teenager, you couldn't have kept me locked up indoors if you'd have tried. I'd have found a way out of there. Right. Now, most kids by the age of 3 know how to use one of them better than we do.
Yeah. Do you know what? Still, it's a sad.
It's just life. It's the way times have changed. It is,
and it hasn't changed for the better either. And still, it was so important we won in Bilbao. That was the third celebration we've had in 34 years.
Show your love to Ange, Lubo. Show your. I'm joking.
No, I'm saying no, but I'm just saying that's why it was so important.
I know. We needed it.
Listen. You know me, I loved it. It was fantastic. Still buzzing with that win. But if I want to see more of that stuff, then we've got to have a better team that's going to compete. Because to win 3 times in 34 years is no good. It's no good. Still, it's all the other clubs are, there's other clubs that are winning and other clubs that are winning regularly. And we've got the financial power to go in and compete with those clubs. It's not like we're a Palace or a Brentford or a Fulham who can't compete financially. We can compete. And this for me is the biggest thing for me is that we've had owners for 25 years now that aren't interested in competing. The bottom line is for them, that's success. If they're making a profit and making money and Levy's taking his 3 million a year, so thank you very much. It's a very nice living. They'll take their times 12 profit, and what's the club left with? 2 trophies in 25 years. So for me, okay, it's done. You can't change that fact. Please sell the club, take your profit, go away, leave the club with people that want success. Because you've got so many fans at this club. It's such a big club, and it's not
that's all what we want, Ian, isn't it? We all want that. Yeah, we all want Levy to sell.
It's not like it's not like you got shares in Santander, for argument's sake. This is about emotion. It's about passion. It's people's love. A lot of people, it's their life.
And there's not been enough of that. That emotion that we had that night.
And they've got to find a way of marrying up with money. Because football is about money today, and the biggest clubs normally that win the trophies are normally, not all the time, but are normally the richest clubs. And we are one of the richest clubs, but we are in that top 20 that hardly ever win a trophy. All the others do. So that's got to change.
So Ian, who do you want to take over as manager?
Personally, if everybody's available, then I would say Glasner, because the players in the club suit his formation.
Okay. And do you think, because there's not been a lot of noise about Glasner, has there?
No.
So is that realistic, guys? Anyone?
He said he's 99% staying with Palace. Well, 99 isn't 100, is it? Mm-hmm. So there's still that 1%. And for me, if you want to go and get someone who is, listen, he had a great end to the season last season. We're talking 23-24. Lost Elise and was it Anderson? Had injuries at the start of the season as well, which all put together meant that they had a bad start. Along came Tottenham. They got their first win at the end of October, and they had gone from strength to strength. And those performances against City and Villa in the FA Cup for a club like Palace was just phenomenal. And when you got a manager like that, I think he'd be brilliant at Spurs. I really do. He'd be my first choice.
Okay. Anyone else like Glasner?
Glasner would definitely be
Glasner for me.
one of my first options. I mean, there's others out there you can easily look at as well. I mean, I still think Inzaghi would be a good option for us. Yeah, totally screwed up the Champions League final, but as an overall manager, and you look at what he's won and done, very good manager. Thomas Frank, I wouldn't say is a bad idea either, for the reason being, depending how we look on at Tottenham, is there this project there? Are we doing this project with younger players, building them up, everything else, and going to work it that way instead of going out and buying quality players? Then you need an absolutely solid coach. And I think Frank, he reminds me similarities of what Poch was at Southampton. Ready to go to that next level. I think he can. We won't know unless we get him and he does it. He's definitely going to be able... I mean, come on, Ange's coach is absolutely shockingly awful and it shows in every which way. Thomas Frank is the sort of coach that will coach his team, his players. Better for the younger players. Progress them. And over 3 years, I believe he can get us further than Ange can. But then it depends how you want to do it. If you just want to sit back and be 15th and be happy with a cup, then might as well just stick with bloody Ange and hit and hope, basically. If you want to actually progress as a football team and get bigger and have a chance of finishing top four and getting an FA Cup or having a chance in whatever European Cup you're in or whatever else, then we need to progress and we need someone who is better than Ange in that league.
Just want to read out this super chat. Sunila, thank you, 32. At least we're European champions for a year. We are.
And can I give you my view on this? The manager. Right?
Go for it.
Forget that I said Ange should start the season, right? I think we should stick with him because it's realistic, right? And let me explain this because I've had a few days to think about other managers as well. Glasner's not going to come to Spurs, okay? I think he's happy at Palace. He's got the buy-in of the fans and the players. And I really think Glasner's going to really have his eyes set on that Europa Cup. He's going to see Spurs have done it. And he's going to say, why can't we do it? I've done it with Frankfurt when the competition was harder. I can do it here with Palace. He's just going to want some assurances from the Palace board that he's going to keep certain players and invest a bit more.
Are they though? Are Palace going to invest? Because I don't think they ever have they?
Well, they've never been in Europe before. They're going to have their tickets all sold out every single game now with him there. So let's see. I don't know. Right?
Isn't there a problem with Palace at the minute in Europe?
Yeah.
I remember reading something. Their owner also owns one of the
another
French
club.
teams.
Yeah, so they might be not
Is
allowed
it
in
Lyon?
Europa. It's gone to.
What's happened? What's happened is you've got the owner of Lyon has 43%, I think it is, of Palace. But the way that Palace is streamlined is that you've got, I think, 4 owners with 25% voting rights, and it's down. And the law with UEFA is down to voting rights, not down to actual shares.
Okay.
Share percentages. So for that reason, the talk on the radio today was that the feeling is that Palace will get off any charge because the voting rights. The guy doesn't have control of the voting rights like he does at Lyon.
Okay.
So, look, I don't think Glasner's coming to Spurs on that basis. Talk of Inzaghi, I knew that was never going to happen. He's not going to go from Inter Milan to Spurs. I don't think he's, especially after seeing what happened with Conte and his fellow Italian, I don't see that happening. Then you're looking at elite managers. I don't think any elite managers coming to Spurs because Levy's not going to entertain £15 million a year after what happened with Jose and Conte. He's not going to get involved in that again. So that then leaves us with a very, small group of managers that we're now talking about. So realistically, it is Thomas Frank. For me, I think Thomas Frank is a sidestep. I don't see that as this big improvement. Yeah, we will finish a bit higher in the league. Yeah, he'll develop some youngsters. We ain't winning. This guy's never won anything. He's even when he was in the championship, he couldn't win it. He lost the playoffs, then he got promoted as third, and he finished 9th, 16th, 10th. So he's not a bad manager, far from it. But is he the big jump up from Ange? For me, no. I'm not excited at all by Frank. So I don't think that makes any sense. If you want to progress the club and take it to this higher level,
it's not a lot of ambition, is it? Still, that's
excitement. I agree with.
We're talking about progressing the club to the big next step, right? I don't see Frank. So on that basis, you might as well stick with Ange, assuming the players like him, back him, and see what he does. The only way I would accept, or I can see logic in Ange moving, is if we get a proper. Like if we got Glasner, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. But we're not going to get him. So who is it then? Because the only other one is Xavi. And do you know what, guys? I think Xavi will look at Spurs. He's not stupid. He's not going to buy into a project. There's no such thing as a project. This was a project. Lange, Munn, Ange. This was the project. This was the final project. Look at us now. Because the thing at Tottenham is this. If you want a project, Spurs fans, you've got to be prepared to go through pain. It was painful for 3 years at Man United under Fergie. It was painful for 3 years with Arteta at Arsenal. If you want a project, you've got to go through pain. The problem is, as soon as it becomes painful at Spurs, everyone loses their minds.
But still, what do you believe that Ange is
Spurs have never backed a project, guys. We've never backed a project.
But what have you seen in Ange, Estelle? What have you seen in Ange to change things this next season? Because the evidence shows he can't do it in the league.
I'll tell you what I've seen, okay? And maybe I'm foolish. You know, we'll see what happens. If he's sacked, it doesn't matter. If he keeps the job, we'll find out. Dan, we've had Mourinho, Poch, Conte, you name it. We've had them all. They had chances to either progress in cup competitions or win them, beating easy teams. Poch lost to Colchester. Poch didn't even care about the domestic cups. He was all about Premier League champions. It failed. Sadly, it failed. Then you got Conte, and I love Poch. Then you got Conte. He lost to Sheffield United, a relegated team in the FA Cup. He lost to Middlesbrough, a championship team in the cup. He lost to these bang-average Europa Conference League teams. Then you got Mourinho. He lost to Norwich, a relegated team, in our ground. The day Dyer ran into the stands. We lost to them FA Cup. He lost to Dinamo Zagreb when we were 2-0 up. Their manager was in prison and they turned it around. We've had managers that have had easy games to get something over the line or get us to finals. They've all blown it for whatever reason.
But what about Ange, Stel? What about Ange?
Ange. Right, but Ange, we say he had an easy run. He got it over the line, though. So the way I look at it is this.
I'm talking about the league, Stel. The league.
Yeah, but
we know about the cup.
Yeah, but for me, it's about.
Don't stick at Ange at Brentford, and Brentford are getting relegated.
For me. But he's not at Brentford. He's at Spurs, and he won us a trophy. Like if buts and maybes,
he could not do what Thomas Frank done at Brentford.
If listen, and that's your view, and you're allowed it. For me, it's if buts and maybes. You asked me what I see in Ange. What I see in Ange is this. Under this wretched ownership and under this regime, this guy, he took all the blame on his shoulders. He defended this ownership all the time, which I hated. I was fuming he didn't call them out. But he said, it's me. Don't you blame the player. He took it all on himself. The only people he argued with was he had a spat with a couple of fans on 2 different games. But he always took it on his shoulders. I hated the fact he was a yes man. I hate that. But being a yes man in this case worked for him because it kept him his job. And he showed under this ownership, I can win. I don't know, guys, if another manager comes to this club and works under this ownership, because every manager we've had, it's failed under this ownership. Tragically, Poch never got backed. Conte blew up the place. Right. Mourinho threw the players under a bus. Redknapp flirted with England. And as much as we hate him, guys, as much as we, his tactics stink, when it came to staying professional, he's the best we've seen other than Poch. And he won a trophy. So I'm saying to myself, I'm going to wrap it up, Dan, I'm going to wrap it up.
It's all right.
So I'm saying to myself, do you know what? Maybe this guy's onto something that the rest weren't. Just maybe. And that's why, Dan. And you know what? Like I said,
fair enough.
I could be a fool for this. I could be a
No,
fool for it.
It's your
No,
opinion.
you got some fair points, but then look at it
Your
from
opinion.
another side. Maybe he was able to do it because he actually got the bloody chance to do it. He was able to do that because Daniel Levy let him do that.
Because he kept Levy sweet, Dan. He played the game right.
Yeah, and that's where I think they basically had to deal with it. Levy wanted that Champions League so much for the club as such, for everything that comes with the Champions League, needed it, knew the league weren't going to get it, and Ange was more than willing to just not focus on anything else but the Europa Cup as well. And that's where the gamble works out, basically, because we weren't going to get it in any other way. And it's down to that. So we can also say that he got that far because Levy adapted and let him do it as well.
Look who he lost to in the cup, guys. Liverpool, champions of England. Villa, 5th best team in the country, 6th best team. Fulham, fellow Premier League team. He didn't get kicked out of the cup to an easy team. He's lost to decent sides. So I just
to the end, Levy let him do it. Whereas 9 times out
and I
of
think
10,
it's because
occasion,
he stayed professional in the public eye, Dan. I think it's because he stayed professional. I think if Conte
helped. But the deal was
kept his mouth shut and didn't
Cup.
get so angry, maybe he would have got a bit more backing. Maybe.
Okay. So,
what do you think, Dan? What do you think? Nigel, look, this is your channel, right, guys?
Yeah.
I've never had a chance to speak to you about this. What I just said, I've repeated on everyone's shows. Based on what I've just said, what do you think about it?
I see where you're coming from. Yeah. And I think if you look at the fan base reaction of winning this competition, right? A lot of fans are saying, like you still, they don't care where you finish in the league. We've won a trophy. Yeah. So those fans are happy to go into next season being low in the league again and maybe winning the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, and they'll be happy. The trouble is, if that doesn't happen, you're finishing low in the league and you're not winning one of those trophies, what are they going to say and how they're going to feel then? Because if you look at it, if we keep Ange and then we're struggling again at the beginning of next season, what are we going to do? We're just going to sack him or what?
What if we get a new manager that comes in, like Nuno did, trashes the club after 10 games? Then what?
Yeah, but
there's so many ifs and buts, isn't there? There's so many ifs and buts with this.
It's always a gamble.
My concern is
Dan, you're right. Dan, you're right. It's always a gamble. I agree. It's always a gamble.
My concern is that we keep Ange and we waste the summer window, and then he is bad the first 7 or 8 games, and that scares me because then we're in a position where we need a new manager. The season's started. We're not going to be the pool, so we're going to be near the bottom.
Yeah,
I just think if we need to do it, we need to do it now. Personally.
So why hasn't the club made a decision?
That great night, but
sorry, Nige, but why hasn't the club? What is going on? Why are we waiting?
I think Levy's back next couple of days. I think it'll happen then.
What?
I think the decision's already been made.
I think Ange is gone personally. I think Levy's going to. The club are waiting for Levy to come back because if he's going to. I'm reading today that Ange has been called back from his holiday a couple of days early.
Mm.
I think if you're going to sack someone, you do it face to face. And I think Levy, if this is correct, then Levy's doing the right thing. It's only right. He's the chairman. If he's going to sack a manager, he should be the one that does it and not hide behind someone else.
And people have been saying for how many years they want Daniel Levy to do what is right for the football side of the club.
Yeah, that's right.
Just the business. So if he now goes and says, "Thank you very much, Ange. You stuck to your part of the deal. You got me into that Champions League. Also got us the cup, but then you've also rescued your own career, basically, because if he wouldn't have won that, he would have walked away as probably the worst manager the Premier League has ever seen. And everyone walked out with it in a smile, basically, in that one. We want Levy to do what is right for Tottenham. For Tottenham to progress in that league over the past 2 years shows that Ange has not got that capability.
Let me ask you all a question.
In a cup, maybe.
Yeah, I get that.
Isn't it all a bit slow, though? Should this not have been done as soon as the season ended? Why are we a couple of weeks down the line and nothing's happening?
Like I say, Nigel, all roads lead back to Levy, but a lot of people don't want to talk about it. The fact we are in this situation is because of the chairman. He's not, He's the one that's got to come out, or he's the one that's got to instruct. He's the one that's got to hire. It's on him. So where do you want to go with it, man? This is the owner we've got.
Guys, let me ask you all a question. Were you happier under the Poch times or under the Ange times?
Sure.
Yeah, still go for that one.
I enjoyed the football. I enjoyed the football under Poch.
Were you happier
football
week
under Poch,
in, week
fantastic.
out? Yeah, the 5 years
on a regular basis.
Yeah, were you happy? Or were you more
on a
happy
regular
that you
basis?
won that trophy under Ange?
All right, I'll answer a different question, but it links to it. If you told me what means more to me, the 2 years of Ange or the 5 years of Poch, I'm taking the 2 years of Ange. That Bilbao, I will never ever forget that. I'm taking that to the grave, man. And that parade, I'm taking that to the grave.
Okay, fair enough. Anyone else?
I can totally understand where Stell's coming from.
It's a horrible question, by the way. You're out of order, Dan.
Yeah,
It's gotta be
it is a harsh.
He's
it
out
is
of
a
order.
harsh question.
Bang out of order, that question.
But the problem I had with winning this cup is that the fact that when we won it, I know everyone deals with things different now. The fact that when we won it, I didn't even jump up being happy at first. I ended up basically falling off my chair onto my knees, being relieved that the game was over. I should have been happy and over the moon straight away that we had just won that cup. No, I was just more relieved that the game and the season is basically over now. And it was done. And that is how much this manager has run me down as a supporter of my club, as a supporter of Tottenham, to the fact that every time we concede a goal, I start laughing. Whereas 2 years ago, I'd have been screaming and shouting at the TV. The fact that this manager has run this club down to the point that we are one of the biggest embarrassing teams to watch out there, to the point that we all sit there and just laugh at our own club now because gone numb to it, basically, yeah? I can't deal with that shit. I ain't putting up with that shit. Now, this season, we can let that go. We got the trophy at the end of it. But he ain't going to improve in the league. So, when it comes to it, I was happier with Poch.
No, and there's a reason why I've
Overall.
asked that question, and I will get to it in a minute, but I just want to hear from Ian and Nige first.
It's a trick. It was a trick.
It's not a trick.
Okay. He's setting us up, I can feel it.
No, I'm not. I'm not setting you up. I've got my opinion.
Someone asked me, was that better than Amsterdam? I had four memories that stood out. I had last day at the Lane. I had Gazza's day at Wembley when he scored the free kick. Ricky Veer's goal in 81. And Amsterdam. And people said, how does Bilbao now rank in there? How does it rank with Amsterdam? And I said, it's better than Amsterdam because we won the trophy. Amsterdam was a much better team. We were in effect 3-0 down at half time. I know we won on away goals, it doesn't matter. But to come back the way we did was full of drama. It was that second half was exciting. The first 1.5 matches we were dreadful, and Ajax outplayed us. And the last 45 minutes we were absolutely superb. And the emotion, and when Poch came across, there was a connection with the fans and a manager that I think that was probably the peak of anything I've ever felt at football. It was just fantastic. And then someone said to me, how does it compare with Bilbao? I said, it wasn't as good. Bilbao watched the trophy. We won a trophy. And those moments are better. And someone said to me, you know, if you come back, you've had a real crap day, you want to cheer yourself up, what do you do? I said, well, I'll stick TNT's highlights on and I'll watch the 3 goals for Lucas Moore and I walk away and I'm smiling.
Yeah.
But I'm smiling.
Yeah.
But I'm smiling more with Bilbao.
But Ian, were you happier under Poch or were you happier now because we won that trophy?
Okay. If you're saying, was I happier long term?
Like week to week, you support your club, yeah.
Week
You
to
enjoy
week.
watching the games. You want
Week
to see
to
your
week.
team win. You know, week
To week, it was, if you're talking over a period of time,
yeah,
then definitely Poch, because you used to walk, you know, you go home, you go away, you were watching great football, you were watching mainly winning football. It was fantastic. If you're talking about, and is there a night that I had under Poch that I had under Ange? Was it better than the one that I had with Bilbao, tops Amsterdam? Because for me, those were the two top experiences that I had with both managers.
So would you swap what you had under Ange for what happened with Poch?
When I swap what I had with Ange, Jesus Christ, that's a hell of a question, because
I'm trying to gauge your happiness as a fan, right?
Happiness as a fan. Listen, I think you're not comparing the best.
Lubo, you were taking selfies with Vicario and Bilbao. You and your son were taking selfies with Vicario.
We had a selfie with Vicario. But
we had a mobile Vicario did selfies.
Yeah, we called him over. Vic, come over. My son pulled his mobile out. Vic took it. Yep, hang on. Had a look round. Had a look in the phone. Snap. What you're saying, Dan? You're asking me to compare a period to a one night experience. You're not asking me for like. If you're saying what's the best experience under Poch and the best experience under Ange, then the best experience of Ange tops Poch because you won a trophy. If you're saying over a period of time, in terms of enjoyment over a period of time, then Poch was much better because it was great football for 5 years pretty much, and with Ange, it's been great football for 10 matches.
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I know.
I don't think I've ever been more depressed as a Spurs supporter than while we've had this manager. And that is why I just can't let go and change everything because of 90 bloody minutes.
Yeah. I think
it's a relief. It's a relief at the end of it more than anything. Like, thank God we actually got something out of it that rescued our season. But the fact that the amount of defeats and the amount of embarrassment we have had under this manager got us to that point where it needed that 90 minutes to justify a season or whatever. It's just, I'm sorry, I can't do that again. Not the way that we've gone with Ange and the way he makes us play and the amount of games we lose and everything and that. Was it worth it winning the cup? Yeah, because we needed the cup desperately. But I was so numb from the season that I even found that hard to enjoy that game.
Do you know what's funny?
I'd already cut off from Spurs, if you get what I mean, on the emotional side, because I've been, you get to that point sometimes. I know people got different attitudes to it, but my attitude, if you don't laugh, you cry, so you might as well just bloody laugh at it and then just go numb to it, basically. I mean, I ain't the best person with understanding emotions anyway and that, but I think where I'd already cut off about Christmas time, because this manager is just so abysmal in every way, that by the time it came to the final, I couldn't enjoy it like I should have. Because I'd cut myself off from it. So I can probably blame myself for that one.
Dan, that's a problem, That's a problem. If you as a Spurs fan are in a place, I'm not saying you're the problem, but if you as a Spurs fan are in a place where you can't truly enjoy a moment like that at any club, then you're just too submerged in what's been going on. And I think, do you know what? That kind of explains a few things to me as well. Not in a bad way, but I think there's a few fans in the same boat as you where they struggled to just let go and embrace that moment because of how the season had gone. And do you know what? It's kind of funny because Sarah in the chat, she said, I cried when Poch left. I won't cry if Ange leaves. Right? That's a powerful thing to say. But then on the flip side, she cried when Poch left. But when we won that final, how many fans were in tears of joy?
Yeah.
How many fans? So
I do understand.
It's a weird place we're in, man. It's a weird place we're in as Spurs fans. It's a weird.
The other thing is still, I've never explained it on here properly. I ain't going to do it, but I have problems with emotions anyway. Like understanding and being with. It's hard to explain. And I've just always had that capability of being able to do it intentionally or unintentional, of sort of just, I can cut emotions off and literally not have them. And it's a problem to an extent. And where I had basically already done that, it's very hard to go and get that emotion and get it back working there and then for the moment. Now, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the win, but I was more relieved at the end of the game than happy. And
I get that. I get that, Dan. Totally get that.
And then I got happier while sitting on here talking to people, getting pissed up, doing a bottle of Southern Comfort, basically.
Do you know what's happened?
It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain.
I'll tell you what's happened.
It's just a problem I've got. It's a problem I've got. It's hard to explain.
Dan, you're that businessman who's this cold operator, gets the results, all the sales come in, the profits are good, but you've got this one employee, can't sell, can't bring the money in. He's a problem. He's draining your resources. And you've decided he's got to go. I can't keep this guy. And then you're driving down the road, you crash your car, you're in a serious accident, and he's the one that pulls you out, saves your life before your car explodes. You wouldn't be alive to run the company if it weren't for him. What'd you do? Just sack him now. What'd you do? That's what he's done. This is what Andrew's done to Tottenham. I'm telling you.
You know what? It's very true. I mean, it's like a description I gave to Sava. Was it yesterday or whatever? I think was. If I'd been with someone who'd been behind my, who'd basically been behind my back 22 times, but then they go and save my life by calling the ambulance at the right time or whatever. Yeah, I appreciate that. You're still dumped. Because for me, when it comes down to it, like I said, with the emotion side and everything, I struggle with that stuff anyway. Even if the fella had saved my life, he's still getting the sack. He'll get a good bonus. He'll get a significant good bonus for it, but he's still getting the sack. Because this is where emotional decisions is what can really screw you up or screw a business up or anything else like that. And when it comes to the top, I keep saying it's a dog-eat-dog world. If you want to be up there, you got to be the coldest person out there. And that is just how business works.
Someone said great analogy, but who the fuck would save Levy's life? Oh, my God. Okay, now that's unbelievable.
It's a difficult one for me with Poch and obviously Postecoglou, because Poch did give me 5 really good years and Postecoglou gave me good 90 minutes. But I think it must be different as well for people who are actually there and maybe people who wasn't, because obviously you two guys, you were there, which surely makes a big difference, sampling the atmosphere and that kind of thing, as to not being there, watching it on the TV like myself and Dan and Dan. Do you not think it helps if you're actually part, like you feel part of it? You're actually.
I think the fans in the stadium at White Hart Lane felt identical. When I look at all the footage and the videos, I think if you're surrounded with other Spurs fans and whatnot, you're in the social circle, right? If you've watched it at home by yourself or maybe with a mate, maybe it doesn't quite have the same impact. But I don't know. I can only speak for. Do you know what? I can't answer that, Nige. Each their own on this, isn't it?
Well, yeah. Yeah, but for me, I'd say Poch, just for the way we played for the best part of 5 years. I thought we were fantastic. Don't know where Dan's gone.
I'm looking at the comments, and listen, everyone's got their own opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. There's no right or wrong here, particularly. Everyone feels how they want to feel. There's so many variables. But for people like Steve T and Illmatic, let me ask you guys a question. Do you honestly think Ange doesn't have the safety net of a Europa League playing against that level of opposition? And believe me, I don't care about that level of opposition. It's all about winning the trophy at the end of the day. And Spurs don't pick who the opposition is.
Very true.
But if you're looking at it in the cold light of day, and we're now looking at next season, and we're looking at 3 domestic trophies and a Champions League, right? And the Champions League is going to be a higher level than the domestic trophies. Whereas this year the European was lower than the domestic, lower level than the domestic. Do you honestly think, based on the systems that you see, the injuries that we pick up, the results we've had, do you honestly think that Ange is going to make Spurs a success at this level, at Premier League level, playing the way he does? Because I just can't see it. It'd be fantastic if he. I must say so. I watched the game just over a year ago. Real Madrid played Bayern Munich in the Champions League semi-final, and Tuchel and Ancelotti were changing systems. They were bringing on players. They were making substitutions. With the substitutions, they were changing tactics. The other one would counteract the other one, and they're on another planet to Ange. Ange doesn't change anything. He just stands there with his hands in his pockets and watches a game. And he makes a substitution between 60 and 70 minutes. That's standard. So, if Ange was changing stuff during a game, not doing a like-for-like substitution, then yes, I'm fine. I get behind it. He's not wide open. He's playing sensible football. He's not sticking 2 fullbacks with, playing 5 in midfield and 2 at the back. Fair enough. If he starts behaving like a manager, then great. Obviously support him. But I've been to most of the games over the last 2 years. And as fantastic as Bilbao was, it doesn't wipe away all the rest of it. You can't just say 2 years didn't happen.
Yeah. Ian, I get it.
And that's my worry, because Tottenham Hotspur hasn't finished with Bilbao. The club haven't closed and shut shop now, and Tottenham doesn't exist. We've now got to move on to next season. And you've got to think, you've got to quite seriously think, how are we going to move forward? We've now won a Europa League. Right? How do we take this forward? How do we progress as a team?
Yeah. Okay. Did Nige answer the question about Poch? And did he?
Yeah. I think he said Poch.
He did answer it. Yeah. So look, for me, this is the problem. Like all season, I've been miserable, right? I've been on a number of shows. Still, I've come on to Tottenham away, ranting, raving, losing my shit about Ange. And I just can't live like that next season. It's not healthy, is it, really, as a fan, to be that unhappy? Coming on, moaning about your team every week. Okay, we won the cup. Fair enough, yeah? But that doesn't cover up what's happened. And I can't be doing that again next season. I want the best for the club. I want to see progression. I want to see good football. I want to see defending. I want to see attacking well. I want to enjoy watching Tottenham Hotspur. And on the whole, this season, I have not enjoyed myself. And the worry is if Ange is here next season, it's going to still be the same. And I'm not going to be a fan who's happy with a low-end finish and winning a cup. I'm not. I want to see us compete with the best teams in England. And I want to see that. And I don't think Ange can deliver that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if he changes it up next season and gets it right,
then fair play.
I'll
hold my hand up. Yeah, and I'll say, fair play, Ange. You got it. I got it wrong. But I just haven't seen the evidence. We got one shot on target that whole final. One shot. Yeah, Ange has got a lot to prove. If he is going to remain in the job, he's got a lot to prove. But it's not just that. He's got to be backed by the board properly. Yeah, we've got to bring in quality players, top players, not youngsters. I don't want to see any kids come in this summer. I want to see the Ezes. I want to see experience. I want to see a number 6, a defensive midfielder. I want to see covering defence. I want to see wingers who can take on a man and get me off my seat. I need to see a lot more, and I'll demand it, and I'm going to continue to demand it from the club. I will.
Dan, you say if we finish 10th and get in a cup, you're not going to be happy with that. You want to see us high up the table and all that. Okay.
But I don't think it will happen still. This is the problem. What are we going to win next year? Carabao Cup or FA Cup?
No. Hear me out. Right. Let's say we get what you want. That's basically Poch. All we ever heard under Poch, Spursy, bottle jobs, but you win nothing. We got bashed with every stick under the sun. You know, this summer, nobody's saying shit to us.
Yep.
Nobody. Not one club has said anything to us. The only people that have called us out are our own fans.
Yep.
For the first time, we've silenced all the clubs and we're saying, can we go back to that? We don't want a trophy. We'd rather have... Not we don't want a trophy. I don't want 10th.
Still, if Ange could do that, and if a manager could do that, regularly win trophies, that's different. But we've won one trophy and we've been rubbish in the league, and there's not enough evidence to show that Ange could do it year in, year out. Okay, he hasn't had the chance. Maybe we need to give him the chance to do it.
He was one game away from a Carabao Cup final. He was one game away from a Carabao Cup final.
Next season, we're going to come
away. Still, he was a world away.
What do you mean? We beat Liverpool in the first leg. We were leading that.
Still, you know, we were miles away. We were.
We weren't miles away. We just the problem is we had to go Anfield to the second leg. That was the problem. And as I said to you, don't go there. We're going to get clobbered.
But they killed us second leg. It wasn't even close.
They killed us in the league in the second leg. Like in the league. Like, look, we're going off point. We're going off a tangent here. I just wanted to say to Dan, because Dan was saying, you know, because this is something I hear from like loads of fans, Dan, on my channel. Listen, I get it, left, right, and centre at every angle on my own channel, right? They say we just want to be higher up, you know, pushing, and I say
be competitive. Still, we want to have some, you know, we want to be able to beat a big team, outplay them, go into a game feeling confident that you can win a match against anybody. And this season, I had confidence with our team beating anyone.
Right. Arsenal fans beat loads of big teams this year in the league. They did the double over us. They beat City, they beat Chelsea, they beat Real Madrid. They beat a lot of big teams this year. This summer, they're in fucking meltdown, their fan base. Absolute meltdown. Because at the end of the day, guys, as much as we talk about pretty football, competing, if you don't win trophies, you're a banter club. If you're a big six club.
It's true. You are right.
We're a banter club. So if you're happy being a banter club, but we're up there-ish, then fair enough. I don't want that. I'd rather take 10th in a cup. I would take that. In an ideal world, I want it both. I do want both. I want to be in the top 4 and winning trophies. But then we're going to go back to the Levy debate. And it's like, how many times
you don't believe we can do both, do you? You do not believe. We haven't done it.
Levy hasn't shown that he's prepared to break the wage bill. He's prepared to spend 60 million on Eze instead of Richarlison because Eze will want higher wages. He's not. Look, Levy does a lot of good for the club, but when it comes to football, he either spends a lot of money but won't pay the wages to attract the talent that he spent the money on, or he will pay a bit more money, but then he buys a whole lot of dross. Name one transfer window that you guys can remember under any manager where you said, what a window that was. I can't think of one.
There was one window still where I thought that they improved dramatically, which was the window Ange joined in July, and it was the window that opened in June where Perisic got Basuma, he got Udogi, he got Cario. There were one or two others that he got. I think he got Perisic. I think there were 4 or 5. There were 4 or 5 players. Okay, there were 4 or 5 players that Perisic got in that window because after
you got Richarlison. You got Richarlison in that window. You got fucking Richie.
He didn't. Richie was there for a year with Kane.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Kevin.
I want to switch up this question from Stel. I want to switch it up because all season I've been hiding. Yeah, I haven't been facing my rival fans at work or wherever I am. All season I've been hiding because I'm so embarrassed of those defeat after defeat after defeat. And that cup, fair enough, we got it, but it's such a thin line. It could have gone the other way. And I just can't go through a season just losing every week, you know, messing around mid-table, below mid-table, and then hope that we win a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. That's not enough. We need to be competitive.
Yeah, and Dan, the other thing is with me is I can let this season go and know that in 2-3 years' time I can forget about the 22 defeats, whatever. We'll remember the cup, yeah. But I'm already at that point. Some people like to live in it longer. Some people like to enjoy it longer, whatever. After 2 days, I was already looking the other way of like, right, okay, we've won a cup. I'm happy. Like, fuck, am I satisfied? I want more. I want better.
Yeah.
I want better in that league. I want to win more cups as well. And by doing that, we got to get to the top on there and look at progress, basically, is where we got to look at. Not what is morally correct and deserves a chance because he got us our first cup. I don't care whether he got us our first cup in 17 years or whatever and that. He done his bloody job and still screwed up the league good and proper. There's your extra money, mate. Piss off. And we get now a manager in who can progress us and take us to the next level.
It's too much of a risk to keep Ange. This is my problem. It's too much of a risk. We're going to just see the same next year unless the transfer window is excellent. Unless Ange changes his tactics and actually plays.
If I thought Ange could do that, Dan, then I'd be willing to sit back and say, do you know what? Okay, league screwed up, whatever. But I don't think he's got the capability of doing it. I don't think he has got the football mentality for a league like the Premier League.
And this is where we're at.
And when you're conceding the same goals every bloody game without fail, it starts telling you something when the manager doesn't adapt and change it.
Can I ask you guys, what do you make of the stat that, because I don't know what to make of it. Well, no, I do know what, that's a lie. I do know what I make of it. What do you make of the stat that when we've got our back four, Vicario, the starting ones, we win 75% of our game?
It's a good stat, but Ange's system, we get more injuries, don't we? So there's an issue. And there's questions around the sports science department as well. Some people blame that. But, I mean, we haven't kept them fit, have we? And they haven't kept fit. And the backups that we have haven't been good enough to stand in to cover. So it's what ifs again, isn't it, still? This is the problem.
Are the backups Ange's fault? Do we blame him for that, the backups?
I mean, we didn't sign a fast centre-back, did we? We didn't do it.
And we probably wouldn't have even had half the injuries we did if he would have actually used rotation at the start of the season and that, like you do in games and everything.
That's true.
And playing players into the ground, basically. So again,
manager's fault. He should have used Spence.
Exactly.
Spence.
Majority of injuries, manager's fault. Okay, what happened to Vicario? Shit happens, you know. But when you start looking at the injuries and they're same thing, and then you can also see players are getting injured because they are just totally burnt out, basically, because they ain't robots. It goes back on the manager again. And literally everything that went wrong was down to the manager. Yes, certain injuries happen and that, I get that. But a majority of the injuries, you could see it was exactly the same what happened up Celtic.
Yeah, because you know what, like we can't use injuries as an excuse. I get that, we can't. But this season, if Liverpool lost Salah and Van Dijk, they're not winning that league. You know, they're not winning the league without Van Dijk and Salah this season. They didn't get injured, those two.
No, but listen, Van Dijk got injured and Liverpool were way off City the other year. But I think they were still second or third. They weren't 17th, you know.
Look at Man City without Rodri. Man City without Rodri. That's
right. But you're not talking about first to second or first to third. You're still talking about a really good performance over 38 games with a squad member coming in. Now, I know people will say it's unfair to compare us to City. I think Liverpool are a better comparison. You know, they're not on oil states, basically. And they seem to have got by this year. Look at Arsenal. Look at the injuries Arsenal have had this year. Saka's out.
Well, we did better than City
for months.
We did better than City
for months. And they finished second.
Yeah, but they won nothing because of it. We won something.
Right, but still, that's fantastic. That's fantastic for this season. It's brilliant and it's wonderful. Yeah. Nobody can ever take that away from us. But I can't live that night for the rest of my life. I've got to look forward.
The rest of my life.
but it goes into the memory banks. It was a wonderful night, and I'll always thank Ange for giving me Bilbao and the Friday in the Parade. It was superb. But I've got to look. But now we're into June. Clubs are now buying players. Everybody's now gearing up for next season, and we've got to do the same. Otherwise, we get left behind. So we've got to say, fantastic. We've got to park.
Put the pressure on Levy to make a decision, right?
Well, listen,
it's not Ange's fault that he's not been sacked.
Sure, listen, I'm sure there'll be a decision one way or another this week. I'm sure.
I just need to know. I need to know either way what's going on. It's doing my nut, right? If it's Ange's here, we focus on what it is. We accept it. We might not be happy with it, but that's the situation, and we can just look forward, forget about it, enjoy our summer, and then we'll see what happens over the summer with signings. Yeah, we just need to know. It's frustrating.
I think the other thing also, Dan, is that you talk to a player. Player wants to know what manager he's playing under.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know who your boss is going to be. Oh, really? So I don't know what system he's going to play, whether he's going to play me in the right position, whether he's actually going to play me at all, whether he actually fancies me as a player. So that's going to hold us back in terms of transfers. So this has got to be sorted out very, very quickly. Otherwise we're going to be left. All the best players have been taken by all the big clubs, and then and we're getting again, the players that the other clubs don't want. So Levy's got to pull his finger out, and he's got to get this sorted very quickly. And if Ange stays, then fine. He's got to tell everybody that Ange stay, and then the recruitment team have got to sit down with Ange and pick the players. And if Ange is going, then they've got to have someone lined up very quickly so they know the sort of players that he's looking for. But they've got to move bloody quickly. Pre-season training starts in about 4 weeks' time.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so one final question of the night, and then I've got to shut down. Sorry, guys. 10 more minutes. So the final question of the evening is, what is the bare minimum for Spurs next season? Yeah? Is it league position, trophy, progress? What is it for you guys on the panel is bare minimum next season?
Dan, what progress? Can you describe that?
Progress in kind of watching your team actually have a system that you think is getting better.
Oh, the football.
Chances,
watching the football.
It's defending well. Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Who wants
to
go first?
For
I need
me,
to see.
Go on.
No. Go on. It's fine.
What do I think for next season? I would want to get back into the top 6. If we can get a trophy, fantastic. Because we won the trophy this year, I can't feel entitled that it's going to be a shit year if we don't win the trophy next year. From the double year onwards, we failed to win a trophy in 45 out of 55 years. So, let's not start taking trophies for granted. I'd like to be competitive again. I think for me, that's the most important thing is to go to Spurs, be difficult to beat, win enough games that, watch some football that's enjoyable and have some good moments through the season and not be involved on match day and you come home and you're really pissed off and then you're on YouTube podcasts and everyone's pissed off and everyone's upset and you've got division in with fans. I just want to see the club get back to former glories. Basically, this is a great club, and I just don't think we've had the right mentality from the top. I want new owners, I want a new manager, and I want better players. I don't ask for much, and maybe 6th place in the league. But listen, it's what you want. You asked me. I think Spurs are a massive club. We should be up there with these teams.
Yeah.
There's no reason why we shouldn't be.
Thanks, Ian. And who's next?
I just want to see stability again more than anything. I mean, it went from one side of where people were so pissed off with the defence, they wanted attack, they got out and out attack, and yeah, look where that got us as well. It's just from one chaos theory to another. I want stability again. I want a manager that can get a team and get the best out of the team he's got. I want a manager that can play with the cards he's got when he has to and not just have one set way, basically. I want it so that when I'm going to a game like Arsenal or we're playing Liverpool, that I haven't already, even though we know we probably get, but I haven't already written it off and wouldn't have been surprised with a 5-0 defeat sort of thing. I want it to be that my club is not embarrassing anymore to support. So I would say if we say, for instance, Thomas Frank does take over, gets us to a semi-final of a cup and gets us in a top 7, we've made progress. Obviously, I'd want top 4, Champions League, whatever else, but I'm trying to be realistic, yeah? So get me a top 7, get me a good cup run and not be totally embarrassed in that Champions League, and then see where we're going from there. I just need to see stability now more than anything.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, get that. Nige?
Yeah, for me, a new manager, top 6, a League Cup would be amazing. More than anything, I want to sign a couple of players that really excite me and get me off my seat. I want to enjoy watching Tottenham again.
You don't want a lot, Nige, do you?
No, well, a couple of players like an Eze or, maybe just somebody who's just going to get the ball and you think, yes, something's going to happen. And I think we're more than capable of finishing top 6 and the League Cup.
Well, under Ange?
Under a new manager, please.
Under a new manager. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Still, what's your minimum expectations next season, whoever's in charge?
Minimum expectation will be either win a trophy. If not win a trophy, then finish top 6. Minimum.
One or the other. One or the other, yeah?
Yeah, because if you win a trophy for season, if you get top 6, you're back in Europe. So I can take either. If you win a trophy, you're in Europe anyway. But look, for me, I'm not embarrassed by Spurs. I'm proud of my club this year for what we did. The football was shit, but I'm proud that no one's bantering me, and I'm proud that I've absolutely run riot on Arsenal fans. I am their worst nightmare. They don't know what to say to me, and I've never been in a position where I can say whatever I want and I'm getting away with it. I'm proud of that. I class high standards as silverware. When we look back, we won't remember hardly anything, but we always remember the trophies. So I class high standards as trophies, not where you finish in the league. But as a minimum next year, whoever the manager is, they've either got to get top 6 or win a trophy. I think top 6 would probably be the easier one to do. Because we're not winning the league. Champions League, forget it. Unless we're in an FA Cup or Carabao Cup, which are doable. Yeah. That's the minimum. That's the minimum.
We can't be losing 10 out of 19 at home, can we? I mean, that's just true.
If we win the FA Cup, it doesn't matter because you're back in Europa.
Do you know what? You keep saying that still, yeah, and I do get where you're coming from. You're basically saying, well, we got in the Champions League anyway, and we got a cup out of it, so we finished 17th. Who cares, sort of thing, yeah. I do get where you come from that, and okay, if we finish 10th and win the FA Cup, we've got a cup and we're in the Europa Cup, same as finishing 6th, basically. I do understand that. The one that just done it for me this season was the 17th. And the amount of defeats and everything. If we would have finished 10th and done that, I wouldn't be complaining. It's just the fact we had to go that low to get that is what totally damaged the whole thing for me personally. But I do understand where you're coming from.
But whether you finish 10th or 17th, the outcome's the same. No Europe. It's the same thing.
Which is why this season isn't defined by the league position. Because we won it.
My whole argument the last 2 weeks.
But
and everyone keeps saying 17.
People can't get over the level of defeat still. I can't get over the embarrassment week in, week out. I can't. Are
you embarrassed right now to walk down the street with a Spurs kit on?
I don't have confidence in my side. I don't think we're a good team. I can't talk with chest about my team.
Are
we're
you
not a
embarrassed to walk
footballing
down the
team.
street with a Spurs shirt, Dan?
No,
it's not
but
down
that's
to
different.
banter,
That's
though,
different.
Phil.
That's different to what I feel. I don't rate our team right now. I don't rate it. I don't have confidence in it because we could go and lose to Leicester next week. You know, that's the sort of club we are under Ange. Yeah, that's the truth.
But if you win a cup, you don't care at the end of the day.
No, obviously it's been a successful season. We've won that trophy. We're in the Champions League. And the most important thing now is that the club pushes on in this summer window. And then we go again next year. And we all have to hope it gets better. You know, we improve over the season. And then this go to my part now, what I expect. You know, I expect improvement. I expect us to be a competitive team, not lose so easily. You know, I want to see progression. I want to see us get up that table and obviously try and win a cup. That's what I expect next season, whoever's in charge.
With finishing 17th and winning a cup is a one-off still. I'm sure you understand that.
We're not finishing 17th next year, guys. We're not finishing 17th next year. It's not happening. No chance.
I'm sorry.
He'll get sacked.
No.
He'll get sacked. We're declining like that. He'll get sacked. Be gone.
But
Yeah.
because I
We're
think
not
he's got
finishing
the capability of doing that again, I want him gone now.
But on the flip side, he's got the capability of winning a trophy as well. Then there's two sides to it, isn't there?
Right, but still, he's not playing a competition next season that has the sort of clubs that we played against. He's playing at a higher level.
And he hasn't got the tier 2 European Cup to cover his backside either this time.
He hasn't, and that's the difference. That's the difference. He failed against the top 10 in the Premier League, and none of the teams in the Europa would get top 10 in the Premier League. So we're playing against teams that are in around the same area as us, like United, or lower, like Ferencváros, Alkmaar, Bodo Glimt. None of those teams would be Premier League.
I don't want to be embarrassed in the Champions League. I don't want to be embarrassed.
So some better players to build the squad so that doesn't happen. We need to buy better players as well. Can I just say one thing? I just want to ask you guys a question. I'll ask you guys a question, right? By the way, Jimmy Hotspur, I haven't only just changed. See, he says, still do care about the league position. You only change your tune. No, I've always said trophies above everything. I've said that for 5 years on YouTube. I've always been a trophies guy above everything. I was one of the fans that said, I'll take 10th if we win a trophy. I've been saying that for years. So I didn't just change my tune on that. I want to ask you guys a question because I know you need to wrap it up, Dan.
Sure.
Do you believe Ange will be sacked, or do you think they'll keep Ange? I've got a feeling. I'll go first because it's my question. I've got a feeling. I think they're going to keep Ange. I think they are going to keep him. What do you guys think? Like, sorry to take over your show, Dan, but I'd like to know what fans think on this.
Okay, I think if that is true, if that's what you think, it's based on the fans, how they turned that parade. You know, how they were singing his name. They were lapping up what he was saying about season 3, and then Levy will go on how the fans feel.
I agree.
On the whole.
And the players. I think he'll go on what the players feel as well.
And the players too, yeah.
But do you think Ange will be here next season?
Personally, no. No.
Wait, I want Dan to tell me first because I want to know what he thinks on this one.
I don't know. Still, honestly, I've been racking my brain over it. I just look at the fan reaction, and it's a lot more people are behind Ange now, and it worries me. And I'm in the minority. Dan, Nige, Ian, we're in the minority. Sava.
On YouTube, you're not. On YouTube, you're not. I'm getting battered. Battered on YouTube. Yep. You're the majority, mate. I'm telling you.
I think YouTube is different to the whole fans. You know, the whole fan base. I kind of gauge.
It is. You know, you look at social media, and all you guys have been telling me that people generally are Ange in. I talk to people at the ground at home games and away games, and everyone I speak to pretty much is Ange out. There's a complete difference, like the worlds apart.
I think it's split, guys. I think it's 50-50.
Do you reckon?
It basically went over emotions, yeah. I mean, before that final, it would have been something like 70% out, 30% in, and then As soon as we won that, next thing you know, it's 90% in, 10 out.
No, Sean did a vote.
Yeah, I know. That's right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
85-15 and then reversed it after the cup win.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
Basically, I just gave different numbers. But yeah, and that's emotion for you. And then that's when you start making emotional decisions. And then that's when you start making serious mistakes in your life, when you think with your emotions and not with your brain. And then it's the novelty's worn off now that we've won a cup for some of us. And for others, it hasn't. They're still going to be sitting there, Angie all the way, come love nor money. Then you're going to have people who wake up a bit earlier and start looking at the future and say, right, okay, nah, he still ain't good enough. He got that cup, however he done it and that, but he's still got to go. I want better. I think the little bit longer you give it, the more and more it's going to go to the Ange out again, because the emotions are going to wear off. Because they already have in a majority of ways, but there's still going to be people out there who are still buzzing now, basically. How? I don't know, but each to their own. And I personally think he's gone. Because Levy ain't emotional.
No.
Can I just say my decision isn't emotional? It's based on my explanation that this manager's proven he can win under this ownership. Mine's not emotional. I'm sure there's many that are emotional, though. I'm sure there's a lot that are emotional. Mine's not emotional.
I think you just got to look at what he's done to win and how many games, and then you got to look at, for me personally, still, I fantastic. He's won a cup. Is he going to carry this on? Is he going to take us forwards against better opposition? I just don't see it because he failed against.
What do you think is going to happen, though? Forget what you want. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think they'll keep him or not? Because Dan thinks he's gone.
I think he's gone by the end of the week.
He's gone, but okay.
I think he's gone by. They've got to make a decision either way, because they've got to start looking at next season and planning for next season. They can't do it in 4 weeks' time. They've got to sort it out now. It's time is ticking away.
Okay, so you and Dan think he's gone. I think he's staying. DANalyst is on the fence, not sure.
I'm worried about that. It will stay due to the fan reaction and the players. You said still. I am kind of.
So you think he'll stay then?
I just get that feeling, but I'm not. I don't know. Still, I can't answer it. It's just
Dan,
nobody knows.
Look at it from a Daniel Levy side. Look at it from a Daniel Levy side.
What about Nige? Yeah,
I think he's gone. I think if it's true that they've called him back from his holiday 2 days early, don't know how true that is. Then
don't believe.
What's the source?
Then it wouldn't surprise. I don't know.
He's Greek. He's Greek. He ain't coming back from holiday early. He's probably extended it.
No.
He's probably extended it.
I think he's gone, but it wouldn't surprise me if we kept him. I'm very much like I think he's probably gone, but I don't know. I don't know what this club's.
Look at it from a Levy side on how he genuinely works. Yeah. Now I think we all got the idea of roughly way backed off this time because he needed Ange to win that Europa Cup because that was the only way to get into the Champions League. Levy, if he is staying at the club for another year or two, whatever, and that, he's going to want Champions League next year. And he's going to know that there ain't no little Europa Cup to tunnel your way into it, basically. So he's also going to look at that. And since when does Levy give a shit what the fans think? So you say, Ian. Since when does he care about any of that? He's one of the coldest businessmen you're ever going to come across, as why he has got to the top and why Spurs are where they are. He will quite happily sack Ange because he wants Champions League next year. He don't care about an FA Cup. He don't care about a League Cup. He knows we ain't going to win that Champions League, but he'll want us to do as good in it as we can for the money. But he will want us to finish in the top 5. So it depends whether, does Levy really think that Ange has got the capability of doing that for him? I don't think he has.
Do you know what I think Levy's doing, guys? I think Levy saw that protest, saw the reaction. He's not happy that these protests are happening. They had stewards set up in the terraces to take down Change for Tottenham flags inside the stadium. So he is bothered by it. I think what he's trying to size up is if I sack Ange, what kind of backlash am I going to face? If it's a big one, I don't think he'll sack Ange. If he thinks the backlash is manageable and it won't be big, then maybe he sacks Ange. I think he's sizing that up because at the end of the day,
and that sums up still everything that's wrong about him. Because what he should be thinking about only is what's the best thing for this football club. Nothing to do with backlash against him or not. A true leader would think, how am I going to improve on the Europa League? That's what a proper chairman would be thinking. Not worried about what the fans think. At the end of the day, the fans aren't in there running the club. He's running the club with his staff and his team, and he's got to get on with it. So at the end of the day.
And another thing is that you've seen the reaction of Frank. So many fans are underwhelmed by that, you know. So if they're going to replace Ange, it's got to be somebody who's going to make the fan base happy. And Frank is not the name. I like Frank, but what I'm hearing, people are not happy with Frank. They say he's no better than Ange. He's a mid-table manager.
But he's at Brentford. We know
he splits fans as well. Frank splits the fan base.
He does.
Frank splits the fan base.
It's true. It does, because he's not the first choice, and Ange was about 10th choice or whatever, and that. And I think there is a very good coach there in Frank.
Yeah.
And he's got the possibility to take it up to the next level. Like I said, I see similarities to what Poch was at Southampton. For me, go and get Ange and put him at Bournemouth, put him at Brentford, put him at Nottingham Forest. Go put him at any of them. They're looking at relegation because of the way he plays. He would get Brentford relegated without fail. He would not be able to keep a team like Brentford up, losing his best player or best two players every season with jack shit money to spend or anything. He would not be able to get them up for a league and then keep them in the Premier League for 4 years.
Oh,
right.
Ange's
I've got to shut the show down, man. Sorry, Stel. Last comments of the night, and I've got to shut it down, man. Go for it.
Mate, thanks for having me on. Good show, good debates. A little bit heated at times, but respectful. Everyone in the chat, just relax. It's only football. It's not the end of life or the beginning of something new. Who knows? But big up to this channel. Like, subscribe. Make sure these boys get to 1,000 subscribers. Top boys in the YouTube community. So show your love. Big up.
Thank you. And everybody, thank you for everybody who's watched, all your comments. And please subscribe to Stel, Nige, Dan. Follow Ian on X if you want to see him arguing with everyone. Give him a follow on X. Let's see what he does. But yeah, big up, man. Thanks, Nige. Thanks, Dan, Ian, Sava earlier, and Stel.
Thanks, Dan.
Great show.
It's been great. It's been a really good show.
Thank you so much. And as always, come on.
Oh, Dan, wait. Dan, wait.
Go.
Wait. I forgot. Sorry.
It's all right.
My uncle gave me this, right, for my birthday, right? Let me show you. So the top one, it's a picture of a pitch, and it's a replica of the goal that Ricky Villa scored. And it says, what a fantastic run. He scored. It's got Ricky Villa, right? Wow. The next one is Hoddle when he chipped the goalie against Watford.
Yeah.
And he's got Gazza's goal. Gazza's goal at Wembley. And the last one is Lucas Moura's third winning goal. Oh, they've done it, right? So it's a picture of the goal and the commentary.
Is this personalised made, Stel, for you? Is this personalised made?
Yeah.
Or is this...
Yeah. But yeah, he's a designer. He did it for my birthday. The reason I'm showing you this is he's getting me a new one and he's adding at the bottom Johnson again, ole, the winning goal bill. Imagine Johnson's joining this illustrious group of players.
That's the next one to go up on the wall. Ricky Villa 81 signed picture.
Great stuff. And actually, there's one more super chat I didn't read out. Sorry, Fed Up Rachel, interesting name. He should have gone after Tamworth. Is forgivable. Thank you for the super chat. That was crazy. That was crazy. Okay, guys. Good night, everyone. Take care of yourselves.
Thank
See
you.
you all soon. Good night.